All right, we are live. Running a little bit late here. Having some technical difficulties. Was a little low on the bone broth, so gotta reload the bone broth first. Having some technical difficulties. All right, there we are on YouTube. Hearing what I just said. You got that going? Just be patient with me for a few seconds here, folks. All right. I see Uncommon Conspiracies. You want to come live, man? I'm going to... Hold on 1 second here. Uncommon, all you got to do is put the HTTP in front of that if you don't already know. It's the link to join me live. I just sent Black Cube a link. Apparently Jeff didn't have a show tonight, so goes. In the meantime, I'm gonna get the screen share ready here. I want to give Black Cube a shout out. He put together a video that I think was done brilliantly. Let's I want to play his video and then we'll talk about it. What? I forgot about the HDMI cable again. In a hurry. I don't want to fuck with it and fuck the stream. But it's only music. There's no speaking. Just give me a minute to set this up. I don't know what's been going on with Verizon, but it's slow as fuck lately. And I guess the area where I live, you can only get a certain amount of speed with the DSL. I guess I'm just pretty much stuck for the time being. Let me throw a thumbs up here for Black Cube's video. Get some screen share action going on here. All right, I'm going to shut my big mouth. We got a 4-minute video. Out. Screen here. Let's see what the sound sounds like. This is what you're gonna fucking do to me live?
Hello?
Hey,
Hey, what's up, dude?
I got a video playing.
I see that. Hold on a second. Let me just adjust some things here. Sound set.
What do you think of that video?
All right, can you say that again?
Look at that video.
I can't see anything. I just fucked up my television. Hold on.
Take your time.
You made a new one?
No, it's yours.
Oh, my thing didn't even recognize. Oh, there we go. Oh, nice. Did you see the? I was about to say, are you live right now, or?
Yep, we're live.
Awesome. See the guy in the comments? Dude, I've been going back and forth with this Jewish guy. He's trying to tell me basically in the comments section that, you know, everything in the Bible is wrong and the Tanakh is the only thing good.
From time to time.
I gotta admit, though, it was a nice debate, though. He's definitely bringing in his A game, that's for sure. So what happened to the Jeff C show? Anybody know? You get taken by the New World Order?
I don't know. He didn't post anything that I saw. I mean, I just got home like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, I was like looking all over. I'm like, oh, that's not good. They must have got to him. I wonder if he was about to.
Did he do a show Wednesday?
Say that again?
Did he do a show Wednesday?
He did a show Wednesday. He didn't do a show Friday. And there are some current events going on today, man. So, did you just now go live, or have you been on for a little bit?
I've been live for about 10 minutes.
Okay, cool. So what have we gone over? What did I miss?
Well, I want to jump right into this London van terrorist attack. White man in a van runs over Muslims.
Okay.
Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
All right, this happened last night around midnight, and I wanted to wait until more information came out on it just to make sure I wasn't getting my leg pulled, because I only saw one video by one channel. I just wanted to make sure. Looked on it earlier this afternoon, and do you remember, it was like 2 shows ago when I did that like in-depth Tommy Robinson thing, how his rhetoric is dangerous because he's violence. And now, I mean, I can't, you know, dots that this guy had anything to do with Tommy Robinson, or if he even watched Rebel Media. But now we have this white guy attack. He ran over 12 people who were leaving the mosque after nightly prayer. People injured. I don't think anyone died.
It was just a matter of time. Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it was just a matter of time before something like that was going to happen.
But now you're going to see the whole left-right thing, where now we're going to see white people. They're going to be labeled radical Christians.
Yep.
The whole thing behind it is, how many people are Christian or Muslim? That's a lot of people, especially in the, you know, Western world.
Well, you got
many people.
I was going to say, yeah, you've got over like 7 billion Muslims in the world, that's for sure.
And I'm sure there's more Christians. And then how many people drive a vehicle? So then what that does is that puts everyone in a position to be a possible terrorist. So, you know, you have to be scared that anyone in a vehicle could be a possible terrorist. Anyone at a, you know, train station. We had the Muslim attack in Germany. Anyone driving on a bridge. Anyone at a, you know, music concert with the whole, you know, summer coming and all. So it puts an extreme paranoia on people, on the normies. Anyone could be, there could be a terrorist under any rock.
That's true.
So now we're seeing the whole, you know, right now we're going to get the right wing thing. And I said in one of my prior videos that I believe London, or England in particular, England is going to get bombarded this year. And like, I don't think they're going to let up even for a second, because England is like on the verge of snapping the fuck out, you know? Now that you have, you know, the so-called Muslim attacks, we had 3 so far this year, on anyways, and now we're getting white people doing the same shit. And the main thing that ties these attacks together is religion.
Oh, yeah.
And one group of people, not included in all this, is the bluish folks.
Yeah, seems like they're stepping out of this one. Actually,
unless they're reporting on it or pushing it.
World events, Jared Kushner was spotted headed to the Middle East to do some peace talks. I don't know, yeah, but last time I checked, America didn't vote for Jared Kushner.
I just wonder, where the hell did Jared Kushner come from? You know, he just comes out of nowhere.
I don't know. I was about to pull a picture up of him. He's kind of a odd-looking cat, isn't he? I don't know. You better keep both.
When you type in Jared Kushner, first thing that pops up.
Could he be newish? Yeah. It's no secret that he is. But at the same time, man, he looks like a slippery fuck, and I wouldn't doubt that he's involved in some shady dealings. As we know, he's got ties to Soros.
And it's, you know, Kushner, kosher. I wonder if he paid his rabbinical tax.
He's paid something, all right, because I wouldn't doubt that he might. Is he an American citizen by birth? Yep, Livingston, New Jersey. What if I
would assume that he has citizenship in Israel and the United States.
Oh, he's got a vested interest in Israel, that's for sure. But now he's actually over there. He's over there now, actually talking about Palestinian peace talks. something tells me that someday he's going to be president.
I hope this Trump thing doesn't turn into a dynasty like with the Bushes.
Well, as I said before, you know, Kushner's been pulling strings ever since he got Bannon fired. You know,
he has a little bit of a hook nose.
Even the alt-right, you know, don't like this guy, but at the same time, you know, let's see here. Pulling it up on Drudge as we were speaking. Jared Kushner in the Middle East, Jared Kushner peace talks. He was in the news today. Oh, by the way, did you talk about Russia yet?
Nope. You didn't miss anything.
All right. Did you keep up with current events? What's going on with Russia and Syria? The U.S. I think the U.S. shot down a Syrian bomber, and Russia pretty much said, "Do it again, we go to war."
We can also discuss that.
But to say you're usually more up to current events, so let's see here.
Look at the link that New York Daily News puts out.
Yeah, I'm just thinking to myself, where the hell did Jared Kushner, you know, crawl up from under? You know, we didn't know anything about this guy even when Trump was running for office. You know, all of a sudden when he gets in, sure enough, his son-in-law just comes out of nowhere and is on the advisory board of everything.
I just want to point out that in these links and in these news reports, it says a white man. The van into a crowd is the title that all these news organizations are going with.
Of course they are. They got to stir up controversy with the left, right, white, black, whatever paradigm.
But when it's a Muslim, they don't mention the color of his skin. They don't mention his religion. And now they're calling Muslims Asians. They'll say an Asian man was involved with a terror attack. And when people think of Asian, what do you think of?
Let me put it this way. I don't think of a guy screaming Allah Akbar. I'm thinking of a guy asking me, what do I want with my poo-poo platter, you know?
Yeah. When people say Asian, they think of Oriental people. And with this particular attack, there was a Muslim college student that said they heard this man, before he plowed into this group of people, yell that he's going to kill all the Muslims. I don't know how you would hear a guy driving a box truck van at a group of people. You would hear him scream this, but there's always that one bystander or one victim or, you know, witness that hears the person scream the racial, you know, slogan that then makes this a terrorist event, and they're saying this is a terrorism event.
So we were, you remember, we called England that they were going to continue to be pounded, and sure enough, to this day, as you said, now people are starting to retaliate on the other side. So it's just going to be a matter of time.
I think we're going to see one a month.
I think they're going to step up their game. Did the cops step in?
And with all their guns and, you know, it's another reason for the police state to come in.
Exactly. Did they use a show of force? They had to have.
Yep. Now, I looked earlier when I made my video about this, but I'm going to look again. Let's see if the Rebel made a video about this. I want to see what Tommy Robinson's saying, because I'm sure island on this one because it was a white person running over Muslims.
Either that or he's going to start backpedaling about how he never called for violence.
I mean, he's showing people's houses on TV, you know, saying these guys are dangerous. He's saying their name, their address.
Yeah, but as you know,
public figures.
These people like to backpedal if they figure they're going to get in trouble. Give me 2 seconds. I'll be right back. Oh, that's loading.
Go ahead, take your time, man. Yeah, but what I was saying before, you know, we have Tommy Robinson making videos about these Muslim people. He's showing their address. He's showing their house, giving out their names. He's running up to Muslims that are walking down the street outside a courthouse, screaming that they are rapists and they're pedophiles. And of course, you know, the cops are there, so, you know, to him. But still in all, he's running up to private citizens, these bullshit remarks. And, you know, I pointed out in my video about Tommy Robinson how he's been arrested for inciting a 100-man riot at a soccer match that got him banned for 3 years from the soccer stadium. So, you know, he has the ability to incite groups of people to violence. And now he's making videos doing the same exact thing. And I believe we're going to see a massive amount of terrorist attacks, you know, these psyops.
I don't think there's psyops.
It's going to be coming from both sides.
I was about to say, I'm starting to think that they're about to start unleashing the real thing, and you're going to get into Albert Pike's Third World War.
That's what I was wondering, if this white guy doing this was a product of just the, you know, the sign of the times sort of thing.
Is that I was about to say, was he one of the Folk Nation people? We get a perpetrator name?
Yeah, second.
I wanted
to see what the Rebel says with this hate crime spin.
I'm just kidding
about the attack we're talking about.
Did they arrest this guy, or is he dead?
I believe he was arrested.
Yeah, I wonder what they're going to find out about him. Was it Gavin McInnes?
So far, all I know is he's a 46-year-old white man.
46, huh? Guess he had nothing better.
Or 47. They gave two different ages.
Yeah.
And one thing that was funny, when I typed in his name, the first thing that came up, his name is also a character on a English soap opera.
Interesting.
Probably has nothing to do with anything, but I just thought that was funny when you type this guy's name in. The first thing that pops up is he's a character on a English soap opera.
There we go.
On the headline, they take away the white man. It's just man plows van. They took out white man.
I noticed that. Gotta love that tactical gear that guy's wearing. Bulletproof vest. Actually, that's a tack vest. It's where you can clip on your extra.
Yeah, he has all kinds of goodies on there.
Oh yeah, right there. I was about to say, I was actually considered buying one because, you know, underneath that you put your level 3 armor plate and put some extra magazines of your AR-15.
This is close to where Tommy Robinson lives, if I'm not mistaken. Luton is North London. I might be wrong. I know it's north of London.
I wonder if
you see, I don't know if that's an MP5. I don't know what kind of gun that is.
That's an AR-15. That's a variant.
Is it?
Yep. And you can tell because it's the upper,
kind of small.
Yeah, well, it looks like a pistol. It's probably an 8-inch barrel. I actually built one similar to that. In fact, you see the buttstock on it? If you were to do that in the States, it would actually be considered illegal because you can't have something with a shorter than 10 inches with a buttstock.
Oh, okay, yeah. There's no
It's
normal stock, whatever it'd be called.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see how it's gone. So you could.
You can get away with it if you don't put a stock on it, because in that case, it's considered a pistol. You know, it's just stupid ATF regulation rules.
Yeah.
It takes you 2 seconds to slap on the stock anyway, so it wouldn't matter anyway. They'd never know. Not that I'm telling you, not that I'm telling you guys to do anything illegal. But then
we would never do that.
Yeah, don't. Not like they're ever going to find out, but just don't. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, hint, hint. As I said, you know, there's a good quote by Robert Heinlein, one of my favorite authors. You ever read Starship Troopers, the book?
No, I only saw the movie.
That's a shame. You should read the book. It's great. Anyway, Robert H. Heinlein says, you know, everything I do, I alone am morally responsible. If there's a law I can't abide by, I break it. If there's a law I can agree with, I tolerate it. But I alone am morally responsible for everything I do. Which actually should be the spirit.
I did hear something about...
Go ahead.
Comment. I did hear something about the writer of the book. He was... No, I can't remember.
Former naval intelligence. You know, back then, most sci-fi authors, he was also like he was also into engineering. Most of those sci-fi authors, you know, worked in the field of like engineering and stuff like that.
All right, here we go. Darren Osborne.
Darren Osborne.
And it said that the people were actually going to beat him to death. Of the mosque came out and they just held him down until the cops could come.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a race war about to hit the fan. Not at all.
Thought this guy would have died, like the cops would have shot him. Because there's never, you know, you don't want there to be a trial and find out why this guy did this. That's why I'm wondering if this is an actual psyop. You know, I believe the other ones were psyops, definitely, but this one might be, you know, just from the violent rhetoric that's going on in England right now.
It might be
and
the result.
This is the shit I was talking about that could happen.
It might be the result of this, you know. The PSYOP did its thing, and now you're starting to see the results in people's minds. People are finally starting to snap. It's just a matter of time before it comes to the States. Because you know, Europe is the testing ground.
I was just going to say that, and especially England in particular.
Oh, yeah.
Popped up Darren Osborne, fictional character. He's a fictional character from the British Channel 4 soap opera Hollyoaks.
Hollyoaks, huh?
I thought that was pretty funny that popped up. Yeah.
I wonder what that's about. Maybe there's some sort of link. You never know with these things.
Well, I haven't done any research, just minimal research. I threw together. It was supposed to be a quick video, but I blab on and on, so it was probably like a 25-minute video. I don't think I even uploaded it yet. Really slow today for some reason.
Yeah, I just put out one of my first videos, as you were pointing out. Yeah, just interesting, you know, just a little footage of what's going on in the Middle East right now. Lately,
yeah, I started the show with that.
Nice, thanks. But yeah,
I love the, and we've talked about this. I loved how you used the juxtaposition of the Nazis and the Israeli military, and how they're both, you know, marching down the street like in parade march and doing all that shit. And if you know, if the Nazis were really the bad guys that the Jewish history book writers and the Jewish
they sure are taking a lot out of the
media
playbook, aren't
tells
they?
us they were. Yeah, why would they go and do the same thing back to another group of people if that were true?
Oh, it was interesting. I saw a video, you know, where this guy goes to Israel and asks questions from people in the states half are Israelis, and one of them was, "Why do you treat the Palestinians like the Nazis treated you?" It's like, "Oh, it's different, you know. We're not doing." And then when he asked why, a lot of them go with you know.
Or they'll bring up the rocket attacks, and I would love for someone from Israel to come on, or even someone from America that's Jewish, and I want them to tell me that how is it that the United States gave billions, if not $1 trillion, for that Iron Dome missile defense system, but a Palestinian person could throw together a couple bucks, make their own rocket, and fire it into Israel and kill people. But
Oh
they
yeah.
have the most expensive missile defense system in the world.
I will say this though, from watching a bunch of history, the Arabs are poor tacticians. If you ever study like the war in Israel, they just kind of suck at being tacticians. They really do. You know, during the 60s, I believe, was it the 60s where Israel actually attacked one of our actual carriers?
The USS Liberty.
Yeah, that's right. What was their excuse on that one?
The truth or what they said?
What they said. We know the truth. What they say was the
Well, the truth
cause.
was they were trying to goad the United States into attacking Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
But they said it was an accident. But I just recently watched a documentary on the sailors from the Navy that were on that ship, and they said, you know, they were attacked for hours, and it was no mistake.
Oh no!
It was a full-on attack, and they were trying to sink that ship. And then men did everything in their power to not let the ship go down.
More power to them. But yeah.
And that was an intelligence ship.
Hell, they really didn't even need the United States to go to war with Egypt unless they were trying to take over all of Egypt, because they took over a vast amount of territory during that entire 6-day war or whatever. I forget if it's a 6-day war or 8-day war. Either way, they took over a vast expansion during that time period.
I believe they took over, what's that strip of land called there?
It was Sinai. They took over Sinai.
Yeah. Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget, in the Greater Israel Project, according to their religious doctrine, they believe that Greater Israel expands all the way west to the Nile River. So they want everything east of the Nile River for their own.
Oh, yeah. But I don't know if it's going to stop there. I mean, the interesting thing, I was looking up, doing a little research over the weekend, the Arabs have, or the Muslims have their own version of what they call the end times. You know, it's kind of weird because it kind of coincides with the Book of Revelation, but at the same time, Islam, you know, was basically cut, paste, and reworded from the Bible. Because as you know, in my opinion, Islam's a fake religion that was created by the Jesuits. Look it up. There were Jesuit missionaries, and Muhammad, the Quran, scribes did. Muhammad died.
No, you're right. The Catholic Church did invent the Islamic religion, and Muhammad was a warlord that the Catholic Church basically he was a sellsword, and the church hired him and had him running military operations in the Middle East.
Yep, that's for sure. I mean, you know,
but they won't.
And
you ain't gonna learn that in a history book.
And here's the thing, too. A lot of I'm not going to say that the Palestinians are totally innocent, because their leadership is just as corrupt. You know, as far as like putting, you know, I've seen actual footage of the, you know, parents putting their kids in front of dangerous situations, you know. And, you know, you being a parent, you'd never, you know, your first instinct would be to run away with your kid, you know?
Absolutely.
So, as I said, I don't think that the Palestinians, you know, especially the leadership, you know, they've probably taken money and made themselves more comfortable while they, you know, while their citizens are, you know, fucking dying in the Gaza Strip. Either way you look at it, the leadership is probably already sold out to Israel, and then they put their citizens in no-win situations, you know, where the only option really is to like lay down, die, run away, or fight. So it's fucked on all sides.
I like how they're painting this this Darren Osborne. This man arrested over van attack near mosque is married father of 4 who recently voiced hatred of Muslims. So anyone who voices a hatred for Muslims, opposition to Muslims, doesn't want Muslims moving into their country, you know, is anti-refugee, is Islamophobic, is a potential terrorist.
Yep. It begins.
That's what they're painting. Everybody is a potential terrorist.
That's definitely part of the plan. But, you know, you're getting to the point where it's going to have to be martial law. I wonder how long it's going to be before they start rolling out the SWAT teams and the curfews like we talked about.
1 person did die, 11 were injured. Last time I read, 10 were injured. The person in critical condition was the guy that probably died. Want to be aggressive and strange. He called his 12-year-old Muslim neighbor an inbred. And he'd been thrown out of a local pub for getting drunk, cursing Muslims and saying he would do some damage. And it's kind of funny that he brings up Muslims being inbred, because there's actually truth behind that. A large majority of Muslims are inbred.
That is true.
And they are a Semitic people, believe it or not.
Go figure.
And Jews, a lot of Jews are inbred too, because they intermarry and marry their cousins.
And they got to preserve supposed bloodline. Oh, did you hear about the guy from the owner of Amazon's competitor, Alibaba, came to Detroit?
No.
A Chinese gentleman. Basically, he's trying to open up the market for manufacturers here in the United States to ship all their goods to China. And with Amazon recently buying out, you heard that Amazon bought out Whole Foods, right? Yep, no. Amazon just recently bought out Whole Foods Market.
Who is
I wonder
this
how
way?
long it's going to be before Amazon buys out Monsanto or even your whole no longer Monsanto.
Here we got
the. Go ahead.
Want to go? All right. Ben Wallace, the security minister, says what I can say on this case is this individual, so far as we know at the moment, was not known to us, but we are aware of a rise in the far right. So now, you know, anyone who's labeled right-wing is a potential terrorist. And now they're including Islam with the left. And if you listen to channels like The Rebel or, you know, InfoWars, anyone on the left is a possible terrorist. If you take part in American politics, there's only two parties, the Democrats and Republicans, the left and the right. If the left is a potential terrorist and the right is a potential terrorist, that pretty much means anybody that's involved in politics is a potential terrorist.
Yeah. As I said, essentially, you know, they're going to break down the left-right paradigm, according to Albert Pike, anyway, who was the master mason and the leader of the Ku Klux Klan, who wrote Morals and Dogma. Eventually, they're going to break down those barriers, you know, with their Hegelian dialect, you know, problems, synthesis. What was it? Synthesis? Nah, fuck. Hold on.
Antithesis.
Okay, thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Bingo.
Problem, action, solution.
Dude, I was like throwing both of those shits into there, man. It's Monday. But yeah, eventually, you know, there's only going to be. And one of his plans was, I mean, he predicted the first two world wars almost spot on. So eventually, according to his writings, that the Jews and the Muslims are going to destroy each other, and they're going to unleash the atheist and the nihilist in this final conflict, till where people are going to have to see that they're going to have to choose a religion because of the evils of nihilism and atheism. World religion comes into play.
Being a massive influx of atheists, nihilists, the whole selfie culture, the whole me culture, the whole, you know, do whatever feels good for you. If, you know, cutting off your dick and getting a pair of fake tits and sucking your buddy's dick feels good, then hey, feels good for you.
Do as thou will, that'll be the whole of the law, according to Aleister Crowley.
I'm actually ordering an Aleister Crowley book. It's it's 4 books in one. It's like $60.
What are you getting? Like the Book of the Law mixed with his other stuff?
I think it's called. What's it called? It was 4 books in one.
Right. I'm sure it probably includes his famous book, Book of the Law, which is essentially where the Satanic Bible got all their inspiration from.
I think this is the link I was looking at.
You want to see something weird? Do a Google search for images. Type in Aleister Crowley Lamb, L-A-M.
Here it is. Here it's Liber ABA book 4.
Looks like a
mysticism, magic and theory and practice, and the law. So yeah, the law is the.
That's some interesting symbolism. Look at the one in the middle. You see it? That's actually the Masonic. That's the Masonic compass and square right there. Just done in a different way. That's also the Babylonian Saturn symbol.
And this there you see the cross in the background with the 2.
Oh yeah, that's that
horizontal lines.
That's a satanic symbol right there. Actually, that's a satanic sigil.
And I notice on the show, the Game of the Thrones, they have the 7 aspects of the god. They call it the 7. That's the main god. And I knew this from Crowley because I studied the symbology. He always used a 7-pointed star that even went back to John Dee.
Right.
who was Queen Elizabeth I's magician.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of research on him.
Yeah,
and that's who
where
Aleister Crowley.
That's where John D. That's where 007 comes from.
Yep. He also is like the quintessential wizard. So like when you see Dumbledore or Gandalf, that, you know, a white old guy with a beard and a cloak, hooded cloak, that's John D.
Definitely. But yeah, that symbol in the middle, you know, it looks like a 6-pointed star. Look, guess what else it looks like? Looks like the Rothschild's red shield. But at the same time, it really stands for as above, so below. But Aleister Crowley, Lamb is the entity that supposedly he had his wife channel. And if you take a look at the images, what does that look like? Looks familiar, doesn't it? You see it in Hollywood all the time.
A tranny.
Well, before there were trannies.
Oh.
Your internet's kicking into full gear, I see.
It's so fast, it's smoking.
Yeah, look familiar, doesn't it? Keep in mind, this was
like the whole.
Yep, keep in mind,
Go
this
ahead.
was before the whole alien thing in Roswell in the 1940s. This is before the whole alien phenomenon.
Roswell was 47, I believe.
You're correct. But yeah, Aleister Crowley's lamb looks like an alien gray.
And what was the story behind Lamb?
Oh, Lamb was a demonic entity that his wife would channel. Go into a trance, and that's on the left. That's actually, I think it's one of her drawings. And Lamb was an interdimensional being. And as I've mentioned before, with aliens, especially with like people like Jacques Vallée and John Keel, the author of the Mothman prophecies, they set off to disprove aliens, but they came to the same conclusion that aliens aren't intergalactic beings, they're interdimensional, which is what Crowley was. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we just had a discussion on this last episode.
Yeah. So as I was saying, I think this is definitely going to be, and they're pushing the alien agenda lately too. You know, transhumanism.
Yeah, they definitely are.
Transhumanism's being pushed more and more every day, but alien we've had since the 40s. So it's my personal belief that these things come down and, you know, say that they're here to help. Honestly, I think that's the beginning of the end. Because we aren't dealing with creatures from, you know, beyond the stars. We're dealing with creatures beyond our dimensions.
Yeah, I think we're definitely being, you know, attacked by something that is far beyond each person's
definitely. And as I said,
imagination.
Aleister Crowley was into some sick shit, dude. He was a pedophile. He was into sex magic. You name it, he probably did it. He was pedogate before it was Pizzagate. So,
I mean, I'm a researcher of magic and stuff like that, but you know, Crowley really loses me with the pedophilia thing. You know.
well, that's part of the whole magic thing for him. You know, when it came to pedophilia, it was basically like sucking the life force out of like the innocent and using it to prolong your life. It's basically another form of vampirism. You know, biblically,
vampires.
Oh, biblically, a lot of this stuff was banned just because of how, you know, fucking twisted it was. And on top of that,
I came across Crowley because I was into, you know, like 60s and 70s rock and roll, and, you know, I really liked Led Zeppelin, and Jimmy Page bought Crowley's house, and Jimmy Page has the largest collection of occult items in the world. He's a very vast collector. Nicolas Cage is another one. He's big into Crowley and a collector of occult items and different items they used in rituals and shit like that. And then even, you know, like the Beatles, you know, you would think, oh, they're just four nice young guys from Liverpool, you know. And on the cover of Sgt. Pepper's, they actually have Crowley on there twice, once when he was young and once when he was old.
Yep. Not to mention, you know, I was a huge fan of Ozzy when I was in high school. I was a big Ozzy fan. He had that song, Mr. Crowley. Remember that?
Yep. Do you know that Ozzy Osbourne, of course, isn't his real name? And
it's John Michael.
There was a band called I can't remember. They're a '60s band before Ozzy came out, and I believe it was the bass player of this band. His name was Ozzy Osbourne, and they were into the whole, you know, Black Sabbath thing, and pretty much Sharon Osbourne stole this guy's
identity
persona. She took the whole, his name, the Ozzy Osbourne thing. They took the whole, you know, Black Sabbath, you know, witchcrafty kind of thing, and gave it to Ozzy. And, you know, your rock and roll heroes, you find out, are frauds.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you get famous. You know, you have to make that deal. I was about to say, look at the supposed stars and musicians nowadays. Can you tell one song from another nowadays? I can't tell a Katy Perry song from a what's her face, Hannah Montana and Miley Cyrus. That all sounds like the same. It sounds like you need fucking pills to enjoy that music. Then again, 90% of people out there nowadays are on some sort of medication.
You know what happens to me?
What's that?
Katy Perry's tits put me in a trance.
What?
Katy Perry's tits, they put me in a trance. So, like, it doesn't matter what the music is. I'm in a subconscious state.
You can see her tits through the radio? That's amazing.
No, like in the videos and shit. It's always, you know, hypersexualized fucking...
Yeah, I'm too busy looking at all the satanic messages they have in the background.
What, did you see the video of Dark Horse?
Which one? What was the name of it?
Dark Horse?
Oh, dude. Yeah, that shit was loaded. Pull up some shots.
And I pointed that out to people, and they're like, no, it's just ancient Egypt. I'm like, if that's what you want to think, it's just ancient Egypt. I mean,
yeah, go for it. Yeah, go with that. No, it's
Bill Cooper.
It's much more than that.
Yeah, Bill Cooper talks about, you know, the whole Isis and Osiris and Horus, and the whole story with that, and how Osiris was basically cut up into pieces, and Isis went and collected all of his body pieces to put him back together, but she couldn't find his dick, so she had to make one, and that's where the, you know, the symbolism of the obelisk comes in.
Well, a lot of those ancient cultures, you know, are phallus worshippers. And the interesting thing that you bring up, the Osiris, you know, Osiris, Isis, and Horus story is, you know, that's found throughout all sorts of mythologies. All, you know, it's the same character throughout all mythologies. And that actually ties back to Nimrod. Nimrod, what was his wife's name? In the Bible, she says, I'd never be a widow, and their son Tammuz. In fact, the Masons are into that. So Nimrod's wife. Can't remember the name of her off my, top of my head, but you know, with the Tower of Babel, where in the Bible, you know, all languages were confused and the nations were spread across the earth. That might be where you get those mythologies from, you know? That's why you have the same characters in mythology, just with different names. Yeah, Semiramis.
Semiramis.
But yeah, I mean, the whole Isis horse, Osiris, goes back to Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz, who was the son of Nimrod.
And for all the Christians out there who celebrate Christmas, you know, Christmas, December 25th, has nothing to do with Jesus whatsoever. That's Nimrod's birthday.
Yeah, that has everything to do, yeah, it has everything to do with Saturnalia. And I mean, you know, the Roman Catholic Church, who's not Christian at all, they were the ones who made all these Christian holidays from pagan, you know, from pagan religions. And they still incorporate, I mean, the Catholic Church is still doing it. They're still incorporating stuff. I mean, it's the most pagan church out there. How else do you explain, like, Santeria, which is essentially modern day witchcraft combined with the Catholic Church, you know? And on top of that,
yeah, that's the Hispanic kind of.
You got the one-eye symbolism right there.
No, that's just ancient Egypt, dude. What are you talking about?
No,
that's just Egyptian stuff, dude. It's just
one eye comes. Where do you think the all-seeing eye comes from? You know, doesn't come.
That's just ancient Egypt.
Yep, that's just what we do here. We keep an eye on the all-seeing eye.
Yeah, that Eye of Horus has nothing to do with anything. That just happened to be there, you know. That prop was just laying around the studio, and she thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool if I covered my one eye with this? That would look really cool.
Oh yeah, that'd be neat. See here, folks, your entertainment corporations are in control. Nothing to see here.
Let me make sure this is on mute so we don't get a
copyright strike. Yeah, that probably.
Yeah, we'll definitely get one for this. Slow this is going. Holy fuck! Look at the view count on this.
23 million. You think they're reaching people?
No, not the subs, the views.
Damn.
It's almost at 2 billion. With a B. Billion.
That's billion with a B, folks.
9 billion views. We have pretty much 5.8 million thumbs up.
2 billion views. That's nearly half the world's. No, it's about a third of the world's population, but still. That's a lot.
I never saw a. I had to double look because I've never saw a video get 1 billion, and this is basically 2 billion.
That's 2 billion.
You could round that up. You know, what's another 50 million?
Exactly, that's 2 billion. You think
and look at this little picture over here on the left. She's doing that whole androgynous shave her head tranny
David
thing.
Bowie, Ziggy Stardust thing, yeah.
She kind of looks like Lamb over here in her avatar for her YouTube page.
I wouldn't doubt it, you know.
Now, like,
all part of the
think of her music. She's I don't know, to me, she's pretty hot. She's a beautiful girl. Why would a girl that looks like Katy Perry do this to her? Why would she shave her head? Like, why would she do this?
It's all part of the plan, folks. You think she has any artistic license in any of this? No, this is all cut, pasted, and produced for her. She has no say in any of this.
Look at all the comments. Illuminati confirmed. So much Illuminati. Fuck the Illuminati. I'm Egyptian. I love you, Katy Perry. Okay. Fuck the Illuminati. I'm a Muslim nigga.
You know, despite all these views for Katy Perry, I wonder what Beyonce's videos are up to nowadays. Let's see how many views Lemonade's got. That thing is, that thing is rife with occult messages.
Let's just watch the beginning of this, and I just want to comment because I do know a little bit of the symbology here. She is basically ISIS, and this is called the transit of ISIS, and it's played out also astronomically with Venus, the transit of Venus. But she's on the river Styx, and you'll see the sun coming in.
Now, Styx is Greek.
Goes. This is pure.
Styx is Greek mythology. They're on the Nile for this one. Oh yeah.
This is pure satanic fucking ritual. Like,
you see the bird.
There's no game.
You see the bird cages on the head? That's MK Ultra right there. There's a lot of birdcage symbology in MK Ultra.
She got the snake head on there.
I'm surprised I haven't seen butterflies yet. Eye of Ra in her hair.
I want to go back to that first guy that comes to visit her.
Little Mindy's, I was about to say, little Mindy's goat that she just performed with her hand.
This guy here. He got the one eye patch there. And it looks to me that he's doing the hidden hand. The Freemason hidden hand thing where he puts his hand by his chest there, like the Napoleon hand gesture thing going on there.
Yep. There she does with her
by
hand
Beyonce.
again, the Mindy's goat. No. Let me see.
Do you know what she started off as?
A gospel singer?
Yeah. Her father's a minister, I believe, right?
He must be so proud.
Oh, he's all into it, dude.
No, I know.
He has the whole Hollywood look going on and all.
I mean, you know, a lot of these ministers are into the occult nowadays. There's a good video on YouTube. It's called Strange Fire by Walter Vaith. That's something anybody in a modern church should look that up because they're bringing a lot of satanic doctrine into the church. Any church that's like a mega church where the pastors are making millions of dollars, there's something wrong there. I mean, you know, Jesus even says in the Bible, give up your riches and follow me. And these pastors, you know, these pastors are driving fucking Bugattis, man.
I could definitely use a Bugatti.
And Maseratis and, you know, fucking, some of them have their own private jets to tour around, you know.
How pious of them.
Oh, exactly. But if any of you get the chance, definitely look up Walter Vaith's. It's called Strange Fire, and you see like people like Joel Osteen are, you know, teaching this doctrine called the prosperity gospel. It's been around, you know, and these are the same people who are Christian Zionists too. You know, the Stand with Israel. And the prosperity.
What kind of people you think this video?
Say what?
What kind of people do you think produced this video?
Does it rhyme with bluish?
It does, yes.
Can't imagine what I was about to say, can't imagine what kind of message they're trying to send to the kids. This looks absolutely wholesome. And
you can see also a lot of transhumanism in here where they're merging people with animals and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the way I look at it. I'm not a huge holy
pyramids.
roller. I am Christian leaning, but they're basically, you know, destroying the creator's work. You know, they want you to destroy the body that God gave you,
Oh, I
whether
mean,
you
that's
believe in God or not or whatever. You know, that's what the whole thing is about. They want you to be a robot.
well, yeah, it's all transhumanism, and before it, when we go transgender, this transgenderism is basically declaring that the creator made you wrong. You were supposedly a woman trapped in a man's body. You were supposed to be a woman. You know, it's just basically telling people that, you know, God made you wrong.
Actually, do better than God.
Yep.
Like, look, yeah, God gave us this body, but look what we can do.
Have you seen that doctor who's going to perform that human head transplant? That's
Yeah, I believe
up.
they've done that already in Russia, if I'm not mistaken.
Was it successful?
If they only, it was successful for a few moments, sort of thing.
Wait, you're talking about that ape that they did years ago, right?
No, I believe it was a human head too. The monkey thing was one thing, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember that died off after a day. But
they wanted to see if the consciousness of the person would also travel with the head, and it did.
So yeah, I mean, they're going to be doing human head transplants, and pretty soon you're going to upload your consciousness into a computer.
Here you got the whole multiracial get up.
Eventually, with the transhumanism, I mean, that's their way of escaping death.
Do you notice these white girls always have a black guy in their video? Or is it just me?
No, it's part of the whole thing.
Think of Taylor Swift.
Not much.
Me neither. Musically or even just looks-wise.
Hell,
Here you got the black girls dancing.
I was about to say, hell, I haven't heard a decent musician since the 90s. And you know, most of them ended up dead anyway.
There's good ones out there, you just don't get to hear them. And then when look at the reason why I brought this video up, 2.2 billion views. I saw something where it said Taylor Swift has the best album, and you know, I consider myself a musical what's the word I'm looking for?
Connoisseur.
Yeah, exactly. A connoisseur. I listen to, you know, Johann Sebastian Bach. I listen to Willie Nelson, Pink Floyd. I even like some rap, you know, like Tupac. So, you know, I mean, that covers, you know, a lot of different genres there. So I'm like, Taylor Swift has the #1 selling album. And at that time, I didn't know the word astroturfing. I'm like, they got to be lying. There's no way that this girl is selling the amounts of albums they're saying she is. Like, I think what they're doing, and this is where my research started with this, is where I'm like, they got to be making these numbers to make this music seem more popular than it is. And even like with the awards they get and all that shit, like this 2 billion views.
Yeah.
I will bet you that the majority of these views they bought, because you can buy thumbs up, you can buy subs for your account.
Well, you know, you can also put in bots and, you know, have them watch it and they hype it up. And it's basically, which puppet are we going to use to sell this certain agenda to this certain demographic? Because, you know, at the end of the day, it's a demographics game. Do we want to get to the black kids for this message? Do we want to get to the white girls for this message? You know, which puppet are we going to use today? I mean, look at
another one.
You ever heard of like the cult of Beyonce? I swear to God, she has her own cult. You can look.
Did you ever see when you talk bad about Beyonce, the Beyonce trolls that come after you?
I had a person I work with, and they said that they're a member of the Beehive, which is the church of Beyonce.
Yeah. Now tell me that's not idolatry.
Well, of course. It's I was about to say it actually brings back fan to what I said before. The meaning of fan comes from the root word fanatic. You know?
You know who this one is?
Yeah, I've heard it. And once again, it's nothing that's special. The music sucks. The lyrics are bland. You know, it's going into.
You got the black girls dancing in the background.
Yeah.
You notice? Okay, like, do you remember black people in the 50s and 60s, and you had the like shoo-wop, doo-wop kind of groups, and the black women dressed nice. They sang nice. They presented themselves with dignity and respect. And now black women just wear weaves. They have ass implants. You know, they just basically shake their ass and their pussy all over the place, and that's considered dancing now.
And not only that, but you look at this. The message, you know, here is like, love yourself for who you are. You're not fat. You're just you know, it's all about the base. Yeah, you're not living an unhealthy lifestyle. That's why they push the fat agenda. They push the you're not overweight agenda. You're beautiful the way you are agenda. You know, because when everybody's special, nobody is.
You notice they're pushing the junk food?
Oh, yeah. What better way to have...
That girl just grabbed that other girl's ass.
Oh, yeah. When you have a healthy, steady diet of junk food, I mean, you know, we're going to solve that world overpopulation problem that we supposedly have.
With all the high fructose corn sugar.
Yeah, you're all going to die, and you're going to die young, and you're going to die of a heart attack. Sorry to be the ones to tell you this, but I'm living in reality.
Yeah, if you don't die from fucking diabetes, type 2 diabetes.
And that's gone through the roof recently.
Like childhood obesity, childhood diabetes.
None of these kids are getting exercise. Show me where
kids are dying from diseases that overweight, you know, geriatric people die from.
Exactly. And it's sad.
All right, I went into a retarded trance there. That video pulled me in. Beyonce thing and the Beehive, and didn't they name their kid Blue?
No, I think Blue Ivy. Yeah, okay, yeah, I remember.
Do you know any like Beyonce songs off the top of your head? How about we go to this Lemonade? I remember hearing something about the Lemonade thing.
Yeah,
because she did a whole like black supremacy.
Yeah, that was the one
video
with all the occultic messages in there, you know. Like I plugged my menses with like the Holy Scripture. Basically, she used God's word as a tampon, folks. That's a message you want to tell your children. Good role models. All of them. Great, excellent role models.
Oh, Beyonce gets nowhere even close to the amount of views Taylor Swift does. And I remember hearing a show where they were talking about being like the alt-right white princess kind of thing. And, you know, Beyonce is just a, you know...
Beyonce's outlived her usefulness, probably.
But just look at the views that Beyonce is getting here. You know, 9 million, 17 million, 52 million, 45 million.
Yeah, it doesn't
45 million, you know.
That's
when
not
someone's
even
hitting 2
that's not
billion.
even a drop in the water for those Taylor Swift and Katy Perry views.
And this is her Vivo official channel. That has the check mark, so you know it's official. It has 12 million subs.
That's it? I mean, that's a
Yeah.
lot. But
Taylor Swift at 22
yeah.
or 24 million.
You know, I bet you she's going to be the next one to die in some sort of weird thing. Usefulness.
Yeah, once they fulfill their contract sort of thing, they get rid of them. And I think that's part of the deal when they sell their soul to the devil, where they say, hey, while you're alive, you're going to have riches, you're going to have fame, you're not going to get arrested for anything, you're going to be on TV and all that bullshit, but one day we may call on you for a ritual, and that's your time to go.
Yep. And usually their popularity kind of waxes a little bit.
And that's actually a magical ritual. I can't remember what it's called, but JFK was like the example they used. And they take a young man that is, in the height of his sexual abilities, popularity, all that shit. At the pinnacle of his career for the energy. But he goes into it knowing that, like, hey, we're going to make you king. You're going to be very powerful. And then they basically put him in a satanic ritual.
Well, with all that Trump assassination, stage plays and shit like that, I wonder how long it's going to be before he hits the bucket.
They're pushing that big time.
Oh, yeah. That might just lead the way for Jared Kushner. That might just lead the way for Jared Kushner to roll.
12 billion views for the Taylor Swift Vivo.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, TREYSON's in the chat, I see. You're right. I'm glad that somebody else agrees with me. Real music died in the 90s. That was the last stand between this and corporatism. Because that's all it is now. Music's just corporate.
Why the hell does it say it's waiting for me? Or just an update? I don't know what's with my computer today. I mean, it's fucking super slow. And I don't have anything going on in the background.
Well, as long as, I was about to say, as long as your internet connection's up. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it is.
Nowadays, it's just, it's just corporate cookie cutter garbage. And it's just absolute trite that you listen on the radio, and it's just repetitive and nonsensical. And I mean, you listen to it and you're just wondering, it's just pushing all sorts of messages. And is this shit you really want your kids listening to? I mean, what kind of message are you...
the numbers. I really don't think this music is as popular as what they're making it. And then I really start thinking back, were the Beatles really as popular as they said, with the whole, teenage girls showing up and screaming sort of thing? It makes me wonder.
You remember what John Lennon said? He said in 200 years, nobody's going to remember who Jesus was, but everybody will be listening to the Beatles. That was his claim. Of course, I'm happy to prove him wrong. I'm still reading the Word of God, but I barely listened to the Beatles. I didn't even like the Beatles.
I like the middle Beatles, Rubber Soul. What was the one with Dr. Robert on it? Revolver. I thought those were their best album.
I was more of a Doors fan.
Yes, I did like the Doors. If you could see my room right now, it's like pictures of John Lennon, Jimi Hendrix, The Who, Pink Floyd.
A lot of people who died
Led
in their prime. Kind of weird.
The Stones.
Yet they're still alive. That's the weird part.
Keith Richards is still
By all
alive.
accounts, I was about to say, by all accounts, the Stones should be dead.
At least Keith should. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he should be a commercial for drugs.
Do drugs. It's awesome.
Dude, my
Drugs
chat
are good,
on like
right?
the YouTube end just finally caught up with everybody here.
Nice. But yeah, so did we ever find out what happened to Jeff C? Was he did the Mossad get him? $5 on it was the Mossad.
Maybe he overdid it on the bone broth tonight.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm gonna say, you know, with all the attacks he gets, I'm gonna say it was Mossad that got him first. Or maybe Jeff C is actually secretly the he's secretly the guy who drove the van.
You know what I just figured out?
Huh.
Jeff C is really Jared Kushner.
That's not funny.
What do you think?
That's not funny at all.
Flat Earth, man.
The flirt? I don't know. I haven't heard from the flirters lately.
You think maybe they got a life?
Well, it's either that or they've moved on to the next stupid conspiracy that makes no difference. You know,
I just try telling people, while you're talking about the flat earth, you're not discussing, you know, left-right paradigm. You're not discussing Zionism. They won't touch Zionism.
They hardly touch free.
They won't touch left-right paradigm. They won't touch, you know, this whole Trump is basically like a mind control weapon, you know? He sucks out the right-wing kind of people and weaponize them, and then of course, you know, the left-wing situation is going to follow, and now you have this left-right terrorist attack thing, and they're trying to outdo themselves.
Right. Well, I don't know. I think Trump was meant to pacify the right. You know, like, okay, we got your person in there. Go back to sleep.
People in the chat are saying Jeff went on vacation.
Did he go to London? In a van?
Did he go to France? Did he take his underpants?
Oh, man. But yeah.
You want to talk about the, I pulled up the article here, the Russian jet being shot down story.
Yeah. Well, apparently the U.S. Shot down a Syrian bomber because they claimed that the Syrians were bombing their locations. Well, not their locations, but the people that the U.S. are backing. You know, Mossad. Excuse me, the rebels. The rebels. We're backing the rebels, folks, not Mossad. And essentially, Russia told the U.S., you know, do it again, there's going to be issues. But it's just a matter of time before it becomes a full-blown war. I mean, how much more do people need to realize that Trump supposedly was the non-intervention candidate? He was supposedly the isolation candidate. But everything he's doing...
That's why he got my vote.
Everything he's doing is so far from isolation, it's not even funny. He's continuing...
He really let me down when he went full-bore Zionist.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that kind of came out of left field a little bit for some of us, but, you know, to those paying attention, he was a Zionist all along. We should have known as soon as he said, oh, we're friends with it. Like, are we? Really? And don't forget, folks, if you bless Israel, you get shekels in return, according to many famous televangelists, such as Kenneth Hagee. That guy's useless. Fucking useless. It's just amazing because, you know, we've been blessing Israel since the fucking 50s, and what have we got in return? The abortion rates have skyrocketed. The jobs are going overseas. The U.S. is in a depression. We've got $20 trillion in debt. We're killing off our soldiers left and right. Yeah, we're blessed, all right. We're going to hell in a handbasket.
Do you think that...
Do I think what?
Do you think the Russians are just like how the left-right paradigm, you know, you have the Americans and the Russians, because if you do your research with the whole, you know, Cold War situation, and, you know, America was an ally with Russia in World War II, and then all of a sudden it's like we were at war with East Asia, now we're allied with East Asia, and they had the whole Cold War thing to keep the arms deals and the loaning money for war going.
The military-industrial complex happy.
Yeah, so when I hear, you know, people saying, "Oh, Russia's going to start World War III," like that, his last name is Green. Jeff talks about him.
Well, honestly, they're going to.
You know what I mean?
They're going to need a third World War. The way all the money is stacking up, they need a way to reset, and war is the best way to reset. That's how the bankers do it. And, you know, the military-industrial complex is the best way to, you know, start resetting money and laundering it. As you know, the missile defense system in Israel, all that money spent for that missile defense system that can't even deflect a few rockets, where'd the money really go, you know? There's going to be endless conflict, as I said before. Oh, look. You see that nation in there, the nation of Qatar?
I was just gonna say that. You read my mind. I'm scanning over this article while you were talking, because it's Iran sent a missile into Syria, and it said it was payback for that terrorist attack.
Yeah, we were talking about Qatar last week. I told you, man. They're going to go to Qatar. That's going to be another one of the people that Israel wants to get rid of. And, you know, anything Israel wants to do, Saudi wants a piece of it.
I didn't expect to hear Iran involved in this whole thing. Iran launches missile in eastern Syria over Tehran ISIS attacks.
Oh, damn.
Terrorism attacks in Iran.
Here it goes. Project for a greater Israel.
But I mean, Iran is on the take too. Iran is like the other side of the coin sort of thing as well, you know.
Yeah, these people have,
you know, Putin is a Freemason.
Right.
And you know that Trump is a Freemason, and Freemasons don't attack each other.
Well, you got to remember, though, there's an inner power struggle, too. You know, these people stab each other in the back to get higher up in their position. You know what I mean?
I just see these people working together, and it's like wrestling. You know, Russia and Iran is the heel; they're the bad guy, and then you have the American flag waving. You know, half Israeli good guy.
There's always the idiots on the bottom, but you got to remember too. You know, Putin is also a Zionist, and yeah, these people are all part of the same satanic cabal. But at the same time, you got to remember, these people are all
Ashkenazi blood.
These people are all part of the same satanic cabal, and these people stab each other in the back for extra power. And yeah, where they're all part of the same satanic cabal, they have different ideas of how they want to run the world. So whereas the China-Russia conglomerate known as the Shanghai Cooperative, that also includes Iran, Syria, probably Qatar, they have one market system, and as you know, we have the central banking system. Those are two different systems that you know, compete with each other. However, it could all be the Hegelian dialect, thesis, antithesis, synthesis. And what they could probably do with those two systems is finally collapse both of these systems and go on to a cryptocurrency mark of the beast system for the entire world. Just an idea. I mean, I could be far wrong.
Well, just going back to when credit cards came out. When the credit cards came out in the 50s, it was for like the, the shopping stay-at-home mom sort of thing where she didn't have to carry cash on her. The husband basically handled the cash banking kind of thing, and she could go out and buy her groceries and whatever. And then, that's in the 50s. Now, today, how many people just use their debit card or their credit card, or, a lot of people do the online banking sort of thing. So how many people actually have physical gold and silver in their possession in their home, or, in a hiding spot, or, how many people keep spare cash on hand? So if the power was to go out, or they would, they would have like a bank holiday and shut down the banks,
you're screwed.
Guess what? Your debit card's no good. And the money that when you put your money into the bank, and it's not in your hand anymore, that money's no longer yours. Yes, the bank is giving you basically a promise to give you your money back. They're going to take that money and invest it and make a lot of money on it, and they're going to loan it back out dozens of times and collect interest off it. And they're just going to promise you that when you show up at their building, they're going to give you that amount of money back.
Mm-hmm. God forbid that you all
hand it over to the teller. It's not yours anymore.
And God forbid all of you decide you want your money back at the same time. That's called a bank run. And if you search your history books, you'll find out what happened to the Bank of England when they had a run on the bank. Pandemonium.
For anyone who wants to come in, I'm going to throw it in the chat on the YouTube end of things here. All you got to do, if you don't know how to do this, all you got to do is type HTTP before that link and then just hit enter. Or no, I should be able to put the whole thing, right?
Yeah. There you go.
All right, yeah, the whole thing. I forgot when I'm the
yeah,
I got the crown.
Yeah, we no longer have to beg people to do it for us. So
yeah, I'm thinking, no, we're asking Ratchet and shit to do it for us. I can do it myself now.
You
have all the power in the chat.
Just remember,
you have the power too, Black Hugh. Yeah.
I see.
You can do it too, though. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's how you could tighten my nuts.
Yeah, bend over.
Homoeroticism.
I was about to say, I need you to bend over, though, because I got to get some torque. So, yeah, come on in. Click the link. We'll have a party.
We also do soft-core fetish porn.
I'm available for children's parties.
Speaking of fetish porn, I don't even know why I said that, but there was a story in Pennsylvania. I did a video on it with the pedo ring.
That furry one, right?
The furry's pedo ring.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Is that really a thing over there?
I actually got a thumbs down on that. Furries, pro pedophilia, I was wondering.
I think you had I was about to say, I think you might have upset or offended a furry. Or as I think they call it in their little language, otherkin. Because we have to be politically correct now. Otherwise, if you were a Canadian, you get thrown in jail for not recognizing their gender.
That's insane.
Oh yeah. About to say that's just like the Salem witch trials, you know? They were throwing people in jail left and right, burning these supposed witches, and it turns out the people accusing them of the crimes were themselves witches.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. Or, you know, someone has a rival business in town and you want to run them out. Well, you just accuse them of witchcraft. And, oh,
Bye.
speaking of which, do you remember the DC shooter, the whole baseball? He shot the Republican whip.
Puns, but yeah.
Remember that guy?
Yeah.
Had a history of violence, beating on his daughter and shit. Well, was adopted. Now, before he adopted that girl, him and his wife adopted another girl who committed suicide by dousing herself in gasoline and lighting herself on fire.
Jesus.
That made me just think satanic ritual, you know, burning your first kid. Those things kind of stick out to me.
Yeah, that's a little odd to say the least. You know, dousing yourself on fire. Yeah, that doesn't, you know, unless you're a Buddhist protester, not many people go that route, you know? At the very least, that's...
I just thought, you know, this guy has a...
How did they let him have kids after that one? I think you should lose your...
Yeah, why would an adoption agency give someone, you know, if you adopt a kid and the kid, like, what are you doing to this kid that it was willing to douse itself in gasoline and light herself on fire?
Don't they take away your kid privilege card after that? I think they take away your...
Well, from my research, from what I've seen with adoption agencies and, you know, like children and youth, child protective service sort of thing, it's not interest of the children. A lot of it has to do with pedophilia and, you know, they kidnap children to basically sell them as sex slaves.
Yeah. I mean, you know, that's part of the whole MK Ultra thing. You know, a lot of the... Have you ever seen Ted Gunderson's The Finders?
It sounds familiar.
Well, Ted Gunderson was a former FBI agent, and he was tracking, you know... After he retired, he became an investigator, and he actually stepped into a case of the CIA running a pedophile ring. And what they were doing is they were basically whoring these kids out, you know, to the elites. But on top of that, they were taking the fucked up kids who survived and turning them into MK Ultra slaves. And as you know, it works best with children, especially young girls, fracturing the mind and reprogramming them. Because I mean,
and you know that that Steve, what's his name? Steve Scalise.
Yeah,
on a committee for anti-sex trafficking, and he was just pushing a bill through the government to basically arrest pedophiles and stop the sex trafficking of children. And then all of a sudden, this guy, you know, he's the leftist terrorist version, just comes out of nowhere, shoots the guy, and then you find out, you know, he has a pretty extensive criminal record. He's violent. And his first daughter he adopted doused herself in gasoline and lit herself on fire.
Yeah, that's negligence at the very least, you know? That guy should have been arrested a long time ago.
I'm going to play a video of... It's a news broadcast where it's about the furries, and we're just going to see how they portray these people.
Go for it. Let's see.
I forgot to unplug the HDMI cable again, so we might not be able to hear it.
All right, let's see it. You sharing your screen? Because I can't see anything.
Heard it yet?
I can kind of hear it, but I can't see it.
Did I share? No, I didn't. All right. I thought I was still sharing.
About to say you might have to start doing finger puppets in a minute.
I could do cock puppets.
That works. Oh, here we go.
All right. I turned the volume up, so you may sound very loud in the speaker. So let's see. Let's give this a go.
One group uses role playing to imagine what it would be like if there were human-like animals. And when this new quartership uses us to the furry
Those are some
community in
pretty
today's.
elaborate costumes.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
I'd like to see the company that makes them. Wonder what kind of. Tell me that's not made for kids.
The first time I saw these, that's what I thought.
I mean, kids.
You dress up as a stuffed animal?
It reminds me like Disney World when I was a kid. I'd go up and hug the mascots, you know? I hope to God.
The one time.
It makes me think like all the times I would hug Eeyore, Tigger, Winnie the Pooh, Mickey Mouse. Some fucking pervert was behind it and getting a fucking, getting off on it. You know what I mean?
The one time it was my sister. Let's see, my sister. I'm about 10 years older than my sister. And when I was a teenager, we were having a birthday party and someone had to be Barney. They got the costume. So, shit rolls downhill. I had to be Barney. And
right.
I put on the Barney suit and I was acting like Barney kind of thing. And all the kids wanted to come up to me and hug me. Like they were so happy to see Barney.
Right.
And when I see these furry things where kids are going to like that, they're going to think of stuffed animals and they're fun, they're inviting. A kid might even walk away with one of these furry characters. And then you find out, about half-hour drive, maybe an hour from where I live, down by Harrisburg, our state capital, these furry groups, I don't know how they ended up with the child, but they were basically bringing this. The kid was 14. I don't know if it was a boy or a girl. I think it was a boy. It was a boy. The boy was 14 when the furry group finally got arrested, but they were using this kid for years, men and women, and they would dress him up as Tony the Tiger and bring him to different furry parties where adults would basically just have their way with this kid.
Oh, yeah.
And like I said, it was 14 when it stopped. It was going on for years. And this was only one group with one kid that got stuck. And, the main ringleader of the furry group got caught with child porn on his computer. So you can only imagine there's dozens, if not hundreds of children involved. And
oh, yeah.
That's what I want. When you see this video, wait till you see the group. This is out of San Antonio.
Those aren't even like homemade costumes. Those are like fucking produced. Those are professionally produced. And you can like pull up some images of like people in furry costumes, and some of them are quite sexual. You know what I mean?
And the whole furry thing is for homosexual sex. It's not for fun or like the whole thing. It's sexually.
I wouldn't even.
The main point is sex.
I wouldn't even put it as like homosexual sex. It's more like these people are androgynous animals, regardless of sex. So I mean, that's just as sick. But at the same time, it's just. Ugh.
Now look at the crowd, and I'm not being like superficial or whatever, but just look at the people in the crowd.
Not exactly
about the women.
Not exactly lookers.
No, they're all pretty much obese.
See the small kid in the crowd too. Ugh.
Well, there's multiple children. You know, if you look in the middle with the white dog head and the pink bow and it has the mittens on, that's a child. And over here with her, you know, blimp of a mom. And nothing against fat people, but obviously these women aren't the pick of the litter sort of thing, you know. But this is what they're trying to tell you this is all about. And it's, you know, I believe this is just a cover.
No, it's
Say it again?
It's all a bunch of friendly people getting together, having a good time. No, it's all a bunch of fucking perverts fucking each other.
And what a great way for a pedophile to hide their identity than to dress up as a stuffed animal. What are you going to say if you're a child and, like, you know, hey, the gray wolf with the black ears raped me? You know, like that, that ain't going to hold up in court. You know, you don't know who these people are.
Exactly.
And then to get your children involved, I mean, what kind of sick fucking people are these? And maybe, you know, some of them don't know, but I mean, I guarantee you there's a homosexual in this crowd. I'll guarantee it.
Of course. I bet you there's a pedophile in that crowd. And as I said before,
my left leg.
As before, I say whatever happens between two consenting adults, you know, I don't give a fuck. Do what you want. As long as you're not like fucking promoting it and, you know, putting out a deviant lifestyle. Whatever you do behind closed doors is your fucking business, folks. But once you step over the line, I have the same philosophy. Once you start stepping over the line, pushing it in people's faces and promoting it to children, you gotta go. You'll never be the norm.
My saying is, it's not my, you make it my business. I don't care what you do. If you want to be a man and you like other men, I can't tell you any different. You know, you do what you do. That's your life. But when you're starting to promote it and it's an agenda and, you know, schools are teaching young children about anal sex and how to do it, and, you know, they're pushing transgenderism on children. I have a child. If he's going to go to kindergarten, they teach him about anal sex and how to be transgender.
Yeah.
I guarantee you I will be at that school the next day and I will be very irate.
Oh, yeah. As I said, or as you said, it's none of my business till you make it my business. And, you know, don't want to know. Whatever you
do. Look at the definition of furries, too. An enthusiastic for animal characteristics with human characteristics. In particular, a person who dresses up in a costume such as a character or uses one as an avatar online. It doesn't mention anything about homosexuals or pedophilia.
Well, it's not even, they don't even list it as like they don't even list it as a sex deviance. But, oh, God. Picture to the right. All the way to the right.
Yeah, I saw it. It's two dudes.
But that one looks...
Wait, whoa. We got to go back to that.
Wait, that one looked a little young.
That's exactly what I was just going to say.
Ugh.
And these people have, like, their own language and shit like that.
Yep, yiffin' hell. So I
didn't know about these things until I was watching a Milo speech and a furry showed up and the person in the costume was talking and you could tell the guy, he was as queer as a $3 bill. And then Milo asked him about yiffin'. So now I know what yiffin' is.
Well, I might have traveled the dark web, so I might know a little bit more than I want to know.
Yeah, it doesn't say anything about sex.
There's a little website that if you feel like you don't know and you want to know, it's called 4chan, but I wouldn't recommend it. Especially 4chan-B.
This is definitely a fucking...
Can you make that bigger?
I'm even clicking on it. Yeah, I'm waiting for... My internet is super slow today. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Whoa, that's a kid. That's
Are you playing a bass guitar?
Maybe. Dude, that's a kid.
I play bass as well.
That's a kid and an adult.
You think the one in the blue mask? What do you guess the age? You think?
I'm gonna say 15. I'm gonna say 15.
Yeah, but okay. Look at the guy on the right. You can see the chest hair.
That guy's in his like late 30s to early 40s.
But the one on the left, I don't think they're shaved.
No,
I don't see any razor bumps. He doesn't really have hair on his arms or upper arms. Like as you get older, you start getting hair and all kinds of, on your back and your neck. And
I'm gonna say 15, dude.
not 18.
No, not 18. I said 15.
You can't tell. It looks like the guy on the right's wearing shorts.
That's not a fully formed person yet. And what I mean is that kid hasn't fully developed. That's yeah. Yeah,
You could actually
that's fucked up.
Article this came off. Neo-Nazi furries uproar causes controversy.
Neo-Nazi furries? I didn't think neo-Nazis were into that sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't see Nazis dressing up as stuffed animals and having sex with.
Yeah, I usually
kids.
when I usually think of Nazis, I think of the Hitler Youth. Oh, look, looks like we got Amanda on.
Yeah. Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, what's up, Amanda?
How are y'all?
Doing good.
Hey, Amanda, give us a Hail Hitler.
Do what?
I don't think she can yell that in a hospital.
No. Mm-mm.
Oh yeah, I forgot you're at work. Never
I'm
mind.
at work, yeah.
Let's keep this somewhat PG rated.
Oh no, it's fine. I'm
PG-13.
not gonna be loud.
The
If I
Jews
mute out,
did it! Sorry.
I'll be in and out, so I'll just mute it if I have to do something.
Cool. So
that picture y'all had on there with the two guys, the older guy and the young kid, what is that from?
we're figuring that out as we speak.
I just pulled up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's disturbing.
It says the furry animal convention was canceled amid communities' bitter divisions over the rise of alleged neo-Nazi Mr. Foxler and the alt-fur movement. Dude, this is a real article.
The alt fur. Fucking neo-Nazi furries.
Oh my god. This world's so fucked up.
Rocky Mountain Fur Con scheduled for August has been canceled.
I was about to say, looks like there's some division in the ranks.
Jesus.
Can you just imagine a furry wearing a swastika?
Apparently, the leader of the furry raiders, Mr. Foxler, was seen doing Nazi salutes.
The furry raiders?
This is like serious, legit. They have a legit convention like Comic-Con or some shit like that.
Hell, I know they do it in our neck of the woods in Florida.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
A furry convention?
They do all sorts of weird fucking conventions in Orlando, though. So, wouldn't be surprised, I'm bound to go to the tentacle hentai one, though. No.
Do you see who this guy is?
Who
So,
is
Amanda, go ahead.
No, I was saying, who is that guy? The fox? What the fuck is he supposed to be?
This is
That's
Mr. Foxler. Mr. Foxler was the adult man in the jacuzzi, and if you look to the right with that blue head, that was the younger, what we think is a kid next to him.
Yeah, it's a teen. That looks like a teenage kid for sure.
Ugh.
I thought it looked like a kid.
How can
They're
you
not
be
showing that picture though.
Parents need to raise their kids because this shit is ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I was about to say, where are the parents? That's my
Unbelievable.
question.
They're fucking non-existent.
I was about to say, would you let
I'm
your
so
kid
glad.
go to a
Yeah,
furry
because look, there's
Fuck no. My kids don't do that shit. They think that shit is ridiculous too.
I was about to say, it sounds like you have, how many kids you got?
I have 4, and then I got married, and my husband has 2, so we have 6. And then we kind of adopted two other kids, so it's fucking Brady Bunch.
What would you say the age range is?
My oldest is 18. She'll be leaving to college this summer. And then the youngest one, she's 7. And that kid looks maybe easy.
Yeah, that kid doesn't look like he's fully.
He doesn't even look like he's through with puberty.
Nope, not at all.
the kid definitely doesn't have chest hair.
And as you said, that's no shave or razor.
But I had chest hair when I was like 13. Yeah, like there was no razor stubble or anything like that.
But I find it hilarious that the Nazis are so open-minded that they allow furries into their ranks now. Those are some open-minded, tolerant Nazis, man.
Yeah, no shit.
The Nazis I knew growing up would have probably kicked the shit out of somebody like that, but that's just me.
I don't understand the whole furry deal. Whatever. I think it's really stupid. They're just trying to get to the kids. It's disgusting, in my opinion.
Yeah. But yeah, especially with you having a kid.
Our costumes, how we were saying before. Yeah, to suck in children, and then they could hide their identity.
But yeah, you have.
I don't care what anyone says. That's a young kid. That kid doesn't have any chest hair. He don't even have hair around his nipples. Even I shave my chest, because I'm in the bodybuilding and shit. But you don't get every single hair. You know what I mean? This kid doesn't have a hair on his body.
Yeah.
So Amanda, has your kid in college seen some weird stuff yet?
In August, but she's going to a seminary college, so I doubt she's going to see any of that.
I don't know, Amanda. I was about to say the seminary's taken a weird turn. It's got a lot of Zionist control in it.
Well, you're right. Nothing's safe.
A lot of the seminaries nowadays have like a world religion sort of thing that they have to take. On top of that, they have like supposedly the translation courses where they have Jewish professors teach them like the true meaning of the Bible and what it really means in ancient Hebrew, and it's not what you think.
This one is Baptist. It's in Fort Worth in Texas. We went up there a couple months ago and toured it and stuff because the pastor, they used to pastor my church. He passed away. His family works there, so they got her a full ride for the first year.
Yeah.
And a lot of his kids went to college there, so that's the reason I trusted it. Felt like it was legit.
I mean, it could be totally legit. Not trying to scare you.
But she's a pretty awesome kid. She's not going to deal with none of that nonsense.
Oh yeah, definitely not.
My kids are pretty aware because I tell them and show them stuff all the time.
That's good. That means
I overshare it. They're like, and they'll come to me. They'll be like, "Mom, is it not the Illuminati stuff? Stop, Mom."
Hell, I wish my parents talked more about it.
Yeah, because no one teaches their kids about anything, how corrupt the world is, and they just let the fucking free for all. They let the schools raise them, and you see how well that's working out for us.
These kids are going to be so unprepared. As soon as they get out of college, they're not going to know what to do.
No, hell no. And then there's no accountability. The kids don't have, everyone thinks everything's supposed to be handed to them. No one knows what hard work is. They just think they're supposed to sit and get it. And not even just the kids. I know a lot of adults that act like that. It's really ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. We're paying for them with our wealth. I was about to say with our tax dollars.
Oh, yeah, they take it out of every check. You're right.
Well, I was about to say Lloyd over here is a little bit smarter than me. He knows his way around the tax system.
Oh, that's nice.
Isn't that right, Lloyd?
What do you mean?
He don't want to talk about it.
Nope. I was about to say the IRS is listening in.
I sent my donation to Israel.
It's a tax write-off. But yeah, going back to the whole seminary schools and going back to like the Baptist church. I mean, have you ever witnessed any like Christian Zionist at your church? Or
Oh, no, I have. We go to a really small church. I don't go to one of those old mega church ridiculous nonsense. No.
No Kenneth Hagee speaking in tongues, slain in the spirit.
Oh, no, none of that. That is ridiculous. No.
You go to one of those rattlesnake churches.
Yeah, that's
You gotta have faith. If you're not strong in your convictions, the snake will bite you.
No. That's speaking in tongues. I've never been to a church like that. I would probably bust out laughing and get kicked out because that is so stupid. That is not even what it means in the Bible.
Well, here's the thing about those rattlesnakes.
Like
it tells you not to test the Lord your God. So, I mean, that's rule number 1.
Yep.
So they're breaking that rule.
What's
the
whole thing with the rattlesnake? Like if you're pious and holy enough that the God will save you from the rattlesnake, or what's the?
Is this legit? Is that really a church? I've never heard of this. What
it's
the hell
in Texas.
Is that?
Actually, it's in Texas.
Really? It must be in West Texas. I'm close to Houston. I don't know about this.
No, yeah, but to answer your question, they believe that your faith will save you. But then again, you know, wasn't it Jesus who was tempted in the Bible? He's like, throw yourself down. If you're the Son of God, surely the angels will carry you. And Jesus was like, don't test the Lord your God. I think they missed that verse.
Yeah, they did. Well, you know, people pick and choose verses for their agenda. That's how that works.
Well, as I say a lot of times, Satan knows Scripture.
Oh, he knows it better than we do, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, most in the satanic cabal know the Scriptures better than we do.
That's really sad, but that's really true.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a video you got to watch, Amanda. It's by a guy named Walter Veith, Seventh-day Adventist. It's called Strange Fire, and it's about how it's just basically how the satanic cabal has actually infiltrated most of these churches, and a lot of this doctrine getting taught, you know, like the Shekinah glory and all this stuff, you know, it's all Jewish Kabbalism. And I think we know what God said about anything that related to Gnosticism in the Bible. He wasn't a fan.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely. So any more on Sergeant Furry?
What I looked at is in this, there's a tweet in this whole furry article thing, moving to at the real Luru Babe. So I went on Twitter, the account, they got rid of it. Googled it, it brought up this furryaffinity.net message board sort of thing. And the first guy that pops up, his name is Lynx. He's 30 years old. He's a male. Orientation, bi-curious.
Ew.
And apparently he's into sex and BDSM. Collars and leashes and gothic dress style.
Gothic dress style. That's something I haven't done since my teenage years, man. And back
Saying
then,
GIF instead of sex.
Yeah, and back then it was blue jeans and a black T-shirt. I don't know where all this other shit came from.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but I mean, this doesn't have anything to do with sex or fetishes or anything like that. Clearly, I mean, it just says sex, BDSM, collars, leashes, and gothic dress style.
You're missing out, dude. It's not anything to do with. I was about to say
Status.
BDSM just
Happily
stands
in a
for.
polyamorous relationship with the wonderful 1985. Let's check out this person.
If we have to.
Like, and here's what someone was, but they were mad that I said this was a homosexual pedophile thing. It's like, not all
It is.
furries are blah blah blah.
Hashtag
Not all furries. Yeah. Well, so far everything I've seen, 29 female orientation.
Let me guess.
Mostly mostly straight.
Mostly straight.
Mostly.
Mostly straight.
Jetta Darkwind.
I don't know.
It's a whole bunch of confused people dressing up as animals, and it's so stupid. And really, what it boils down to is pedophilia. I mean, that's what they're trying to push. It's going to happen.
You think any of them were molested as children?
I'm pretty sure
Absolutely.
most of them were. Yeah.
In a weird sort of way. I mean, you know, we say pedophilia, but, you know, why don't we bring in the other factor, which is definitely bestiality and androgyny?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that too.
Most pedophiles were molested themselves.
Definitely. But you look at it too, I mean, these things look like they could be either, you know, male or female. So you got the androgynous factor going on too. You know what I mean?
Where did all this androgyny gender shit come from? When did this start? Because I missed the memo. No one told me.
Are we talking historically? Because, you know, androgyny goes back to like ancient Greece.
No, I mean just like currently the whole agenda where they're pushing, you know, children being transgender. I know what a tranny is, and it's usually like a guy dresses up in a dress and puts on lipstick and shit like that. But like cutting off your dick and getting fake tits, and I mean,
well, it all
woman of the year.
It all stems from the.
When did it go mainstream?
It all stems from the sexual revolution, though. You know, with Kinsey and his ilk, and then you had Timothy Leary with the fucking drug culture, and
yeah, then you find out that was all backed by the CIA.
Oh yeah. Divide the people, you know, you gotta put them into the sick freaks and the normies, because, you know, nothing better than a culture divided.
I took a psychology class, and of course they talk about Kinsey, but they don't tell you, I took it in college, they don't tell you what he really did. I didn't find that out in school at all. I found that out doing my own research, which is completely disgusting, but they don't tell you that, what twisted stuff he really, really did.
Oh, yeah. I mean, some of those experiments that go back to, like, you know, the Kinsey experiments. Did you ever hear about that, Amanda?
Oh, when he had children, you know, when they scream the loudest when they have an orgasm. That's what he said. It was just,
yeah, I mean, how is this man not killed on sight? He released
like the hero.
How come we didn't come after this asshole with pitchforks and torches, you know? It was in his fucking book. Yeah, that just shows you how passive of a society we've become. With all this pedogate stuff, we should be beating down these people's doors and setting them on fire, personally.
You would think that. Everyone's too worried about pop culture bullshit that doesn't even matter.
do you think would take, what kind of event would have to happen for people to literally rise up and say, listen, I'm not taking this shit anymore? What would have to go down, do you think?
Their money. Cost their money, then they would do something. I don't think anything else people really care about, to be honest. But if it affects their money, then people would start acting a fool.
Well, you've seen what happens when you cut off food stamps, right?
Oh yeah, they act a fool. The money and the food, yeah. That's the only thing that's going to get anyone to get off their ass and do anything.
Look at Venezuela if you want a better example.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
why when people say, oh, Trump's going to get rid of food stamps, they're not getting rid of food stamps. Imagine all the people on food stamps if they couldn't get food. And you know what hungry people do? They do fucking radically crazy shit.
They loot, right? You name it, they do it.
I'm gonna mute my mic
enough
for me,
furries.
but I'll pop in and out.
Sounds good. Thanks for stopping by.
All right, I'm not gonna leave. I'll just mute it so that way y'all don't hear if anything crazy happens.
All right, pop in as need be.
I'm just reading Uncommon Conspiracy.
You know, I watched a. Go ahead.
I was just reading Uncommon Conspiracy's comments saying those furry people are weird as fuck. Nah, they're normal. What you talking about? They're no different from you and me, except they can afford. My question is, most of these basement dwellers that are these furries, how do they afford those costumes? Those don't look cheap.
They're probably blowing people for it.
Then again, when you're when you're sponging off your parents, I'm sure you got some extra money just lying around.
I watched a documentary on pedophilia in Hollywood, and to make a long story short, basically what happens is these children get into acting, and it's the parents that sell them into it. And the parents, to keep the money and the lifestyle, and the parent basically lives vicariously through the child, let, you know, these producers and directors have sex with their children just so long as the drugs and the money keeps coming in. And that's basically what happened with Corey Haim. You remember Corey Haim? He was really popular in the 80s, the two Corys.
Everybody
Corey Haim's mother, I read a story where Corey Haim he wasn't even a teenager yet. And I'm going to say Sarah Jessica Parker and Robert Downey Jr. basically just took him out of a party the one day. He was just a kid. He was 8 years old. Took him, moved him into a loft in New York City, and he basically lived with them for a few months. And the reason they took him, he was crying at one of these Hollywood elite party sort of things, and his mom was basically dressed in leather lingerie, passing herself around the room like a blow-up sex doll. And he was like, hey, why is my mom doing this stuff with these people? And they took him out of there. And he said Corey Haim was quoted on saying that they put a blue light bulb in his room, and he had a little bed on the floor kind of thing. And something just told me something is weird about a blue light bulb. So I just, looked up blue light bulbs, and I'm reading about it, like MK Ultra mind control sort of abuse. They use blue light bulbs and blue light for sleep deprivation.
Interesting. That's one I actually haven't heard. When you're saying blue light bulb, I'm thinking Kmart special. You remember the blue light specials?
Yeah.
I was just
Kmart
thinking,
actually closed down where I live.
I was thinking cheap kid ass for sale. But yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
Well, you remember the show when they did that show, The Two Corys?
Yeah.
And they got in the argument in the one episode about pedophilia. And Corey Haim said to Corey Feldman, like, you knew what was going on. You knew what they were doing to me. Search on Corey Feldman. And basically, he's bluish. His parents are bluish. And what he would do is he would make friends with the new actors. So one of the bluish producers would say, hey, Corey Feldman, I like that kid. You know, get to be his buddy and bring him to the next, you know, party. And they would give these kids drugs and alcohol, you know, 10 years old. They're not old enough. They're underage, you know, obviously. And they would bring them to these parties. And, you know, the one group had a mansion in Hollywood. And the rule was, if you want to sleep at this mansion, you had to get naked in a jacuzzi. And the one kid, you know, he was like, hey, this is kind of weird. You know, I'm 10 years old and I'm taking drugs at a party, drinking champagne, getting drunk. Up from the drugs, naked in this guy's bed. And Ariana Huffington's husband, going by the nickname Huff, was a frequenter to these parties. And I actually saw a video with that kid's name.
Macaulay Culkin?
No,
That was another.
remember the show The Wonder Years?
Get that fucker's name.
Ben Savage?
Yeah, he had a brother named Fred Savage who played on.
Yes, his younger brother. Or no, was it Ben? It was one of them. It was him or the younger brother. Showed up. It was a promo film, and the kid showed up and he hugged the guy. The guy grabbed him by his ass, and he's like, "Hey, guess what? You're gonna be excited." And the Savage kid was like, "Oh yeah, about what?" And he's like, "Your buddy Huff is here." I think the name of the documentary was called "Hidden in Plain Sight."
That's a funny name for a documentary because that's very Masonic.
I think it's Fred Savage that was in the Wonder Years. I think Ben is the younger one.
Yeah, you're right. Ben is the younger one.
I can't remember which one of them. It was the younger one. The younger one was in the. No.
Boy Meets World.
And you gotta like stomach for it, you know. I wouldn't watch it on Friday night date sort of thing. Yeah, it's called Hidden in Plain Sight. But they were showing how when your child gets into acting, for the children was bluish and a homosexual. The photographer was bluish and a homosexual. The producers, the directors, the bigwigs running the studio, like David Geffen. David Geffen is 80-some years old, a 15-year-old boy, and they just broke up, and the kid basically went crazy and like stalked him, and David Geffen had to get a restraining order on him.
Yeah, how is he not in jail?
And David Geffen is a multi-billionaire. He owns Geffen Records.
Oh yeah, that's right. They live by a different set of rules than the rest of society. Looks like we got some...
What would happen?
Oh, go ahead.
You know, I'm 35 years old. What would happen to me if I was dating a 15-year-old boy?
You'd get arrested.
You're going to jail.
Because you're not blue.
Yeah, my name would be up on every channel, every news, whatever. They would destroy me.
Of course.
And I would be in jail for a long time.
Now, if your name was Finkelstein or something like that, or you were a
It's
Mason,
actually Sheckelberg there, Goy.
or you were a Mason, because Masons seem to partake in this at the higher levels too. It's been recorded and well documented.
How you guys doing today?
How's it going?
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, the Freemason Jehovah's Witnesses have a pedophilia problem also.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if we've spoken before. They have a rule where you have to have 2 or 3 witnesses to your rape for them to even take you seriously.
Sounds like a joke.
Oh,
That's what I think.
Yes.
well, that's disturbing.
Common.
Yeah. If you look up Jehovah's Witness United States scandals or investigations, a lot of stuff will pop up.
I was about to say, you usually see in the Jehovah's Witness when they're going door to door, you usually have like one kid with them. Anyway, the Jehovah's Witnesses that have knocked on my door, anyway.
Well, that's probably their children.
You're right. They do always have a kid. Now that I think about it, every time they've knocked on my door, there's a kid too.
That's just
What's funny about this article? It says that David Geffen takes out restraining order against his 20-year-old former college football player ex after ending the affair. The affair ended when this kid was 18. And now he's in trouble again for stalking David Geffen. What it doesn't mention here is that David Geffen was dating this kid since he was a teenager.
How is the kid in
Newish
trouble
names
with it?
involved with the article.
Would it be the Huff Post?
But, here's a fucking 70-some-year-old crusty old guy dating 20, teenager college.
Yeah, something tells me he's got a lot of Viagra in his medicine cabinet.
Who is the guy? Who is that guy?
Multi-billionaire David Geffen. He owns Geffen Records. Nirvana was signed to Geffen.
Oh,
Music
okay.
producer.
This guy has a lot of money. And David Geffen's been single since he split up with his 28-year-old boy lover in February of 2012. Despite a 6-year relationship that included public visits to the White House in 2009 to meet Obama.
Yep.
And if you don't know, Obama's a known homosexual by gay prostitutes and do cocaine with them.
Yeah, and somehow they mysteriously ended up dead. They caught a bad case of death. Interesting how that works out. You guys remember the Franktown? I can't remember the name of it. It was like during the 80s. It was it was a boy prostitute ring that this one Republican ran. Franktown or something like that.
Oh, Boys Town? Wasn't it
Yeah,
Boys
Boys
Town?
Town.
Or something? Yeah.
I mean, this guy was caught, taking escorts that were, mid-teenage boys up to the White House, and, he was pimping them out to congressmen and senators.
And nothing happened of it. Nothing. That's ridiculous.
A few of those prostitutes ended up dead. But other than that, you're right, nothing happened.
I mean, it's just like the was it Ted Gunderson, and he was doing the research using his own money to find the tunnels under the school. It was over 1,200 plus kids complained about being molested at the preschool, and that didn't make anyone mad. Nothing happened to them either.
Nope. And Gunderson had all sorts of records on these people.
Yo,
Yeah.
what's up, guys?
What's up?
Hey.
Not much. You guys were talking about Obama a second ago.
Yep.
Have you guys looked into or heard that thing about who, the whole birth certificate thing being a distraction, because the whole point of that was to keep people from looking into who his actual real dad was, which was Frank Marshall Davis, the communist.
I mean, I've heard things.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah, I watched this documentary, Dreams from My Real Father, it was called, and that thing was dope. Like, it sounds kind of like it's out there, but by the end of it, you're convinced, you're like, holy shit, we're being lied to.
Is that like Bill Hicks' Alex Jones?
No, it's not that.
No,
It's
that
not that
documentary
ridiculous.
is actually pretty decent.
Yeah.
Got a picture of here's David Geffen, Steven Spielberg, and Jeffrey Katzenberg. Jeffrey Katzenberg is Jewish. He's a known homosexual. We got Steven Spielberg, who's Jewish and who is a closet homosexual. And then you got David Geffen, who's bluish and a flamboyantly homosexual. And these people spend billions of dollars so they can make children's movies. These are the people that put together their money to make DreamWorks.
Sorry about that, guys.
Not to mention all the subliminal messages they put in those children's movies.
So why would three, very rich people put a lot of money to make in DreamWorks, which is, it's cartoons for kids. It's in 3D, so it penetrates your mind. It penetrates the children's minds a lot easier.
Well, not only that, but there was Michael Eisner, who was of Disney renown. The guy who took Disney out. Yep, I was about to say he took Disney out of the black and put them back on the map with the Disney Renaissance. And of course,
Walt Disney would be very angry that Jews were running Disney.
Well, on top of that, you had all the subliminal messages with the Disney Renaissance, such as the Little Mermaid art, the artwork for the VHS tape. There's a giant golden phallus in the castle. And you had the Lion King.
Dude, you could say dick.
Well, it just sounds better.
I have a potty mouth.
Phallus sounds a little bit more professional than there was a big golden cock. Hopefully your patients didn't hear that one, Amanda.
No, I have my earbuds in.
Oh, hold on, put it on speaker.
Oh no, they talk like this. Y'all don't understand what I deal with. It's ridiculous. It's X-rated up here. Oh my god.
I can
like an old guys be whipping out their cocks. They be having sex and shit.
Yes, I've walked in on that because I work in a long-term care facility. I've caught them in the act. We've caught another male patient, blowing another male patient for 65 cents for soda. That's the shit I see. They jack off all the time. It's unfucking believable.
Yeah, there's a guy.
Into their tapioca pudding.
There's a guy in the background. There's a guy in the background at Amanda's work named Sheckelberg who's listening in. It's like, oh, the boy are on to us. Shut it down.
Yeah, the podcast ends abruptly. The Benjamin Sheckelstein to us.
Never know who's waiting in one of those old people houses.
Oh man, if y'all
I'm done
heard some
sharing. I
stories,
can't get this to work. But if you want to see about pedophilia in Hollywood, hidden in plain sight.
Which, as I said, the name itself is kind of hilarious because that's a Masonic term, hidden in plain sight.
And I'll just give you like a spoiler warning. It's pretty fucking gross.
Well,
like gross, like what do you mean?
Totally missed that. What'd you say?
What do you mean by gross?
Oh,
it's a movie about pedophiles.
Yeah,
so besides that, yeah, okay.
The subject is child fucking.
Yeah.
And they actually show the pedophiles' strategy, how they're actually predators, like in the animal kingdom, and how they will, solicit a group of young children, and they will, buy them birthday presents and become very close to the parents, and they'll be there on the holidays and birthdays and take them camping, and especially if the family's poor, they'll help the parents pay off bills and, stuff like that.
So fucked up.
And then they'll find who the weakest one is, and then they'll target the weak one, they'll use that one. They'll basically tell the kid, "Hey, this is normal. All the adults do this. Everyone's doing this." And
Are you
then they'll
talking
use
about
that
Chicken Hawk?
other kids
On
into
top
doing
of
it.
that, those pedophiles, their mindset is fucked up. You ever listen to one talk in like documentaries, and they're like, "Oh, that little boy liked me. He was talking to me," and you're just like,
Yeah, you're talking about
"Dude."
Chicken Hawk, right?
Yep. Heard
Yeah,
the
exactly what you're saying, Black Cube. That's what the guy said, because the kid wore a wire, and he got the one. He was a Hollywood talent agent kind of thing, and and let me tell you all this: none of these guys went to jail, and they're all still working today, even after this movie. And the kid child actor who was sexually assaulted by these people wore a wire, and he got the guy talking about it, and how the guy gave his first blowjob when he was 12 at a park, and he's like, I really didn't want that. Like, you tricked me into that. And he's like, no, you were talking about pubic hair and blowjobs. You wanted me to do that. You liked it and all.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
So these people came out on video saying all this stuff, and no one pressed charges, nothing.
But only the rich pedophiles get away with it.
That's fucking bullshit.
So have you
And
guys
they
seen
all
that Chicken
rhyme
Hawk
with
thing?
newish.
Say that again.
Have you guys seen that actual video? It's called Chicken Hawk. I think it's like another documentary, but it pretty much covers exactly what you're talking about. How those guys they're being interviewed by them, and they're talking about like, trying to hook up with these kids and how awesome it is and all that. It's
I know what a chicken hawk is. I haven't seen the documentary though. I'll have to look it up.
There's one guy out of all of them. I think it interviews 4 dudes, but there's one out of all of them that's like really freaking gross. It's like this older white guy, and
I'm probably gonna end up shooting my television and washing my hands out with bleach afterwards. But
the guy's so creepy, so creepy.
As I said, they have a fucked up mindset.
Yeah.
They think. I mean, of course, these people are probably fucked as kids themselves. So it's
but let's go back to the Talmud. These people are Babylonian Talmud worshippers, and they believe that if you are a goy and they molest you, it's no big deal. But here's the crazy thing: some of the kids were actually bluish.
Well, that's kind of against the code, actually, because you're only supposed to. But then again, how it is the way that
followers, not followers of the Torah.
That is true, because I mean, the Talmud itself is essentially the Jewish way of skirting around the law of God. Basically, the Talmud is like the Supreme Court when the Supreme Court interprets the Constitution. So it's nothing that's divinely written or divinely inspired. It's just a bunch of assholes seeing how they can get away with the shit they want to get away with. Like, for instance, if you tie up a goy's hand and let him, starve to death, you won't be convicted of murder because technically you didn't kill them. They died as a result. It's shit like that in the Talmud that makes it such a creepy book.
What are the chances that Talmud is not a real document? What do you guys think?
It's real. It's in any.
Oh, it's definitely real.
It's in a synagogue. If you want.
Did you just say it's real or is real?
We never know.
I did say Israel. I wanted it to sound funny.
All right.
But yeah,
that goes back to Babylon. When the Israelites got kicked out of Israel, and they basically, they went to Babylon and they just absorbed the Babylonian religion. It's basically satanic demon worshipping, and they hijacked Judaism, and that's where the Ashkenazis then came from when they traveled north. And it's, going back to the times of the Bible, it's the Pharisees.
I mean, the
Pharisees.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm gonna grab a drink of water. You could fill in for me.
Definitely. Even the Jews, Sanchez, they even said that they confirm the Talmud. They, you know, the Supreme Court justices, they are inspired by the reading of the Talmud. You can even look at what Justice Scalia said. You know, he said that every constitutional lawyer should be familiar with the Talmud, because they basically base their system of codes and their interpretations on how they understand the Talmud. And the original name for the Talmud was the Babylonian Talmud. So that shows you the origins of in Babylon. And when the Jews were actually not just exiled to Babylon, they were conquered by King Nebuchadnezzar. He enslaved the Jews. So that's where the Pharisees actually come from.
Right. And there was a president too that was very outspoken about all this stuff, right? Oh well, actually, he was talking about the protocols, right? The protocols of the elders, learned elders.
Protocols of the Elders of Zion. That's the one that, yeah, that's the one that the people think is fiction.
Possibly fake,
that okay. That's the one.
I know Nick
Talmud's absolutely. Yeah, Talmud is absolutely confirmed. Even the Jews say, yeah, we study the Talmud. Talmud are the teachings of the rabbinical elders. But no, the Protocols of Zion is a real book. They don't know if it was like fiction, like George Orwell's 1984, you know, like a fiction writing.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, even if it was fiction, like George Orwell's 1984, do we not see George Orwell's 1984 coming true to this day?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Protocols of the Elders of Zion is pretty much, you know, could be a fiction story, but we're seeing it come true today. So the end result's still the same.
It really doesn't matter if it's real or not.
Exactly. I know that it was written by a Russian who was loyal to the Tsars. But, you know, you familiar with Martin Luther, right, Sanchez?
No, not really.
He was the one who established the Protestant church. He was the one who he was the one who translated the Bible into German so that the modern person could, you know, because originally the Catholic Church, only the monks could read it because it was in Latin, the New Testament.
Okay.
So they hid the Bible from civilization. That's where you got all these weird doctrines from the Catholic Church that weren't in the Bible, such as purgatory. Purgatory never existed biblically, and you know the Catholics practice these strange things. And basically, the Catholic Church used that to their advantage to sell things called indulgences, which basically promised that if you bought an indulgence, if you bought a sheet of paper, your loved one would get out of purgatory. But, you know, people were so superstitious back then, and the grip of the Catholic Church was so strong, they believed it. And Martin Luther was a monk. He was like, hold on, this isn't right. So he was the one who invented the Protestant church.
Oh, all right.
Without Martin Luther, you wouldn't have your Baptist, Methodist, whatever. We'd all be Catholic.
You know, the new Pope is bringing back indulgences.
I wouldn't doubt it. Martin Luther, though.
So basically, you could sin.
Go ahead.
And what an indulgence is you could sin as much as you want. It doesn't matter. You can murder people, rape kids, steal. But then you go and buy a couple indulgences, you're good then. Then all your sins are wiped clear as long as you throw the church some money.
You got to pay them some money. Yeah, that's so.
That Catholic Church is fucked. The Catholic Church is so fucked up.
But another interesting thing about Martin Luther is Martin Luther was excited when he translated the Bible to German, because not only was the common man now able to read, because the common man spoke German at that time, they were able to read the New Testament for themselves. But not only that, he was excited because he would get to share the New Testament with God's chosen people, supposedly the Jews. But then Martin Luther made a discovery. They didn't think he could understand the Talmud. And Martin Luther so he was schooled in ancient Hebrew. All these writings he translated and found out what the Talmud really was. And that's when he wrote the book, The Jews and Their Lies. That goes all the way back to Martin Luther. So the Jews do not like Martin Luther.
Well, he
Martin
exposed
Luther's
them,
an
that's why.
anti-Semite.
Oh yeah, he gets he's the father of anti-Semitism according to a lot of them. But then again, a lot of them call the Apostle Paul a huge anti-Semite, and that's hilarious because I got news for them. Paul was a Jew.
Yes, he was. Yes,
They
he
were all
was.
Jews back then.
Yeah, the Apostle Paul was like, his name was Saul, which was a very Jewish name. But without the Apostle Paul, the Gentiles wouldn't have the Bible. Or the Gentiles wouldn't know anything about Christianity without the Apostle Paul.
Paul in his travels, right?
Yep. And, the disciples were able to travel, through the roads of Rome, because Rome at that time was the empire of the world, and they had roads stretching all the way to Asia and Europe. So it's amazing how this sort of thing works. And now, thanks to the internet, a lot of people are starting to hear things about Christianity that hasn't been heard for several thousands of years. So it all is kind of cyclical.
When I was a kid, I went to Catholic church as a kid. We didn't go much, but that's the church we went to. And I never learned one damn thing. And I never liked it for whatever reason. It just never felt right to me. Because it's so, they do the same thing every Sunday. It's like ritualistic to me. And I'm like, I don't understand the point of this.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just broke away from that because it never set right with my heart, ever.
Well, yeah, the Catholic Church is very pagan. I mean, it comes all the way back from the mystery cult as well. They say that the Catholic Church was the first church, but that's not true at all.
Mm-hmm.
The Catholic Church pre-existed Christianity, but it all goes back to the Babylonian mystery cult. I mean, they deify Mary, which is a no-no. They pray to idols, which is also a no-no. I mean, they pray to saints, and according to the Bible, Jesus says, nobody comes to the Father except through me.
When they worship.
That even goes before Babylon, even, into Samaria. Even though Samaria is still Iraq, it's older than Babylon, and it goes even before that. I don't even know what the names of those.
We're talking about Babel then, because Babel is like one of the biggest, civilizations that predates Phoenicia.
Well, I mean, they do goddess worship because they pray to Mary. Like, you're not supposed to pray to Mary.
Well,
Period.
Mary.
Yeah, that's Isis.
Yeah, Mary is Isis in the Catholic Church. And all these saints that they deify aren't really saints. They're just pagan gods, repackaged. I mean, have you guys heard of the...
really the Babylonian religion repackaged, where they, the Babylonians worship different demons and stuff, demigods. They weren't per se, but they were demigods. That's basically what a saint is.
What were you saying, Sanchez?
No, I was just saying that's really interesting, that point you just made, because I've never heard that, but it makes sense. It's everything that the God of the Old Testament was saying, hey, don't do this. Don't worship idols. Like, why are you going to make a calf and worship it? Like, that's stupid. And yet, that's what the Catholic Church is now. Like, I know because my majority of my family are Catholic. And years ago, I was going to this church, this really cool church, Christian-based. And trying to talk to them was, like, impossible. There's no way you could even use the scriptures to show them, like, hey, you're not supposed to be doing this. Look, this is what the Bible says. It's like, no, you can't do it. You can't do it at all. Like, they're not going to humble themselves. It's all about pride.
Oh, of course. And, the more they know and the more, the things that they know and the Apocrypha and extra canonical books. I mean, just recently, I just learned about a new cult in Mexico that all the cartels are praying to, the Saint of Death, Santa Muerte, as they call it. You ever heard of that?
Yeah, I heard of that.
Basically, it's a Virgin Mary. If the Virgin Mary looked like a fucking Grim Reaper. Show me that in the Bible, please.
You really want to get into an argument with your family around Christmas time? Tell them that Christmas has nothing to do with Jesus or God, and it's actually the Emperor Nimrod
Saturnalia.
It's all
from
pagan.
Babylon.
Mhm.
No, you can even go back to Roman times. It's Saturnalia. Christmas is actually the Saturnalia festival. That's why you bring a tree into your house and decorate it.
Big phallic symbol.
Pagan. Same
I
thing
think you're
with,
wrong about that.
Easter. Easter is, fertility cult worship, more phallus and vagina, Vesica
Ishtar.
Pisces. The Jesus fish is a Vesica Pisces. And, it goes back to Ishtar, which is also Babylonian. If you could even call Mary is actually Ishtar as well.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, dog, you're wrong. You're wrong. Let me tell you why you're wrong. Because like they were able to go back and track back in time through history and then find out that Jesus was actually born on December 25th. You guys don't know that?
About to say, you look in the Bible, it says the shepherds were in their field. They're not going to be doing that in December. Not even in. I was about to say, not even in.
Ooh, got him.
The animals aren't grazing out in the pasture in the winter.
Oh, so I got lied to?
Yes, I'm afraid you were.
Damn it.
Yeah, that's
You missed that part.
not his actual birthday. I think that my pastor said something like it was more around like March, something around March is when
I've
it
heard.
possibly could have been.
I've heard some weird things about Jesus's actual birthday too, and one of the things people did, in the can't remember, it was like some sort of astronomy laboratory. They tried to recreate the Star of Bethlehem, and they said, according by our judgments, it was a supernova that occurred on September 11th.
Well, you
What?
know how they have the nativity scene where they have the wise men there when you see a nativity scene. Well, they didn't even get to him until he was like
2 or 3.
3
Yeah,
years old.
they were traveling for a few years actually.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't in the manger, and they didn't get to, they didn't get to them when they were in the end. They visited him when he was like 2 or 3 years old.
I believe Jesus was born on September 11th as well, because everything that these, call them Freemasons or, the Satanic Cabal, everything they do is mocking Christ. That's their main thing. Even when they hold mass in Latin, it's in reverse. They do like Satanism is into talking backwards. Backwards, anything to go against Christ. Everything they do is mocking Christ. So like, the
Black
Emperor of
Mass.
Rome and the pantheon of gods. That didn't just disappear and they became Christian. They just changed some things around and it became the Catholic Church. And instead of having the Emperor of Rome, he just became the Pope.
Yep. And on top of that, if you guys ever get a chance, you guys should look up the Secret Society of Loyola, also known as the Jesuits. And if you ever get a chance to look up the Jesuit oath, let me tell you, it's not very Christian. Killing people in the name of Christ, dashing the skulls of infants against walls, ripping out mothers' wombs. I mean, if you want a biblical equivalent to what the Catholic Church is, look no further than the Whore of Babylon mentioned in Revelation. Because according to the Book of Revelation, the woman that rode the beast, dressed in scarlet, had a cup filled with the blasphemies and the blood of the saints.
So I used to work with this nurse, and she used to work at a old folks home for nuns. And
Right?
she was telling me about how, when you get older, some people get dementia, and they just start telling you all kind of stuff, and how they would kill their babies or have abortions, and a lot of them were lesbians, and a lot of them got pregnant by the priest. Like, it was wild.
Well, especially considering that the Catholics don't believe that their priest, should be married or, they should be chaste. And that goes back to like virgin oracles. There's nothing in the Bible about that. Most of the prophets, had wives. in the Old Testament. In fact, one of the prophets, I can't remember which one, actually married a prostitute because it was kind of, God told him to, because it was equivalent,
I think it's the one that starts with the H, is it? Oh.
Yeah, Haggai or something.
Yeah.
Something like that, because
yeah, it was
basically
him.
she was supposed to be a metaphor for Israel at the time, because Israel was going around whoring after strange gods. One of the worst of which being Moloch, you know, which they would sacrifice their children to. And it gets even creepier because basically the idol of Moloch was like a bull with human arms, and basically they would set a fire underneath this metal statue and put children in the hands of this statue while it was burning.
Here's a passage.
With all the abortions, you know.
It just all goes back to ancient times, man. Abortion is nothing more than a satanic blood sacrifice, in my opinion.
Here's a passage from the Bible, 4 through 8, and it talks about, I'll just read it quick. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth into Galilee, to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David. He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be, and that's Mary, the mother of God, who Mary, the mother of Jesus, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in the clothes and placed him in the manger because there was no guest room available for them. And there were shepherds living out in the fields nearby, keeping watch over their flocks at night. No, they were Jews. Festivals. And we're talking about in fall here. Then you scroll down here. And it talks about, we understand the seasons of Israel with regards to the shepherds. There are seasons that shepherds watched over their flocks by living outside their tents and living inside their tents. December, as we know, is winter. It's freezing cold. Winter is not the time for shepherds to be living out in the fields watching their flocks. But in summer, they're climbing outside. And about the day the Lord was born, the Bible clearly indicates that the shepherds were living out in the fields nearby watching over their flocks. This means the day could fall by any other season, but clearly not winter, and therefore never December 25th. If you want to look, I mean, there's passages from the Bible, and it explains how Jesus could have been born on December 25th. Even from like a biblical...
Yeah, that makes sense. I was just joking when I brought that up. Let me ask you guys, to change the subject a little bit. Like who...
Sure, shoot.
We have, you know, there's people in the, I don't know if you want to call it a movement or whatever, people who are truth seekers, and you find out that there's shows out there and all that stuff. Like, I like Jeff C. He's okay. I like his stuff. I think sometimes he gets a little too passionate and just kind of just says things that I don't really agree with. But for the most part, cool dude, good guy. Who else? Who else did you guys follow or look up to that you would say like you should check out this guy's channel or this girl's channel? You know,
I don't. Well, you said your family is mostly Catholic, so there's a guy that he has a channel called On Point Preparedness, and he was Catholic too for a long time before he woke up. And he has a channel that explains a lot of the questions and stuff that I had myself, and maybe you possibly have, since you know a lot about the Catholic or your family that breaks stuff down. He has a really good channel. His name's Mike, and it's On Point Preparedness.
On Point Preparedness.
Mm-hmm. And then KJ, the scariest movie ever.
Oh yeah, KJ Osborne. I know him.
Yeah.
What do you guys follow? Gnostic Media at all?
I never heard of them.
Gnostic Media, yeah, he's worth a listen to. He knows what he's doing. He's a good guy.
Hey, Gnostic Media?
Yeah.
Yeah, I usually I usually tend to stay away, kind of stay away from anybody with the name Gnostic in their name.
Yeah. Well, I've been following the guy for like a few years now, and he's pretty legit. He teaches the trivium and pretty much learning how to learn so that you can tell when people are trying to deceive you by using logical fallacies and stuff like that. He does a lot of research. He's got a bunch of books, and he's always having people on the shows to like interview them about all kinds of different subjects having to do with, all this Illuminati stuff. Just check him out when you get a chance. Gnostic Media.
Definitely will. The only reason I mentioned that is because I know that a lot of the Masonic beliefs, are centered around Gnosticism, and Gnosticism actually goes all the way back to Kabbalism, which is Jewish mysticism.
There's a video on Run to Christ on his channel he did, and you know how they assassinated JFK. A lot of people think it's because of that speech he did about the hidden elite or whatever, and how the bankers, he didn't want them running the country, and they think that that's why he had got assassinated. Well, on Run to Christ, he did a video, I can't remember the name of it, maybe about a month ago, and it said it was JFK and the image of the beast or whatnot, and he did a speech at the Rice Hotel in Houston about the church and about the Pope and stuff, and about how the Pope shouldn't dictate laws and the government and run stuff. And then shortly after that, he got assassinated, which could be a possibility of why, because the Pope, he's trying to run everything right now.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I wouldn't put it past him. And, as I said before, I believe that these things are all connected. Zionism, Freemasonry, the Catholic Church. As much as they like to put on a good show about how different they are, they're still all connected to the same Luciferian cabal.
Know anything about Freemasonry? When JFK was shot, he was hit in the head, throat, and he was hit in the chest. And when you go to become a Freemason, you basically a lot of like pageantry and plays kind of thing. And when you go in to be a Freemason, you take on the character of Hiram Abiff. And Hiram Abiff was supposed to be the first Freemason, and he runs into three Masons. They're called Jews, not Jews either. So it's just funny they're called the three Jews. And gets hit in the head, he gets hit in the throat, and he gets hit in the chest. I believe they stab him, but he's also killed in Dallas, right where he was killed at Dealey Plaza. The Freemason temple is right across the street there. There's also a obelisk in the same courtyard on I forget the name of the street. I think it's Elm Street or something like that. But all you got to do is look into Freemasonry and Hiram Abiff and how JFK was killed. And if you ever watch Oliver Stone's movie JFK, when Deep Throat character, when he meets him, when the attorney, I forget his name, meets him in Washington, D.C., and he's like, telling him, put the pieces together. He doesn't exactly come out and say it, but he's like, who would benefit from this? Who had the power to do this? Who had the ability to do this? And as, the actor is saying those lines, they pan out from the bench that they're sitting on, and they show a picture of the Washington Monument, which is a Freemasonry thing. So, I mean, there's a lot more than just that. That's just a quick, synopsis. But if JFK gets shot 3 times, exactly how Hiram Abiff dies in, Freemason lore, just think a little bit.
Yeah, it's weird.
Funny
really
story about Masons, because my husband, his uncle is a Mason, right? Low level. People think, oh, they do good stuff. It's, this club or whatnot. And so he was trying to talk my husband into doing it. And then the women, I think they call them Lady of the Eastern Star, something like that. I'm not sure. So he was telling me, oh, you just pay $114. You have to go to this meeting, blah, blah, blah. Well, about 2 or 3 months later is when I started waking up and I started seeing stuff, and I was like, oh, hell no. So we didn't do it because before that, I had no idea about Masons and all the corruption with it and things like that. Well, his uncle has on his license plate the symbol, the Masonic symbol. And so
Right.
he left my house. I live in a small town, and the cops are pretty bad out there. And he was hanging out with us. We barbecued and having some drinks. And he's speeding through a 35 zone, right? And so the cops
Let
pull
me
him over.
guess, he didn't get arrested.
He didn't get a ticket, drunk. I know he smelled like alcohol flying through in his truck. Well, come to find out, the guy, the police chief that pulled him over, he's a Mason too. I
They
was
all
like,
are.
oh, interesting.
Most cops,
Well, it's funny because my dad was a cop for 25 years. He's not a Mason.
right? A lot of them are though, because you have the fraternal order.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Fraternal order of anything's Masonic. And the interesting thing about
And most Masons are only the first 3 degrees. It's called Port Masonry. Your typical Mason is going to be 1, 2, or 3 degrees, even though the 3rd degree is called Master Mason.
it's still low level.
Masonry, they're just your regular run-of-the-mill people. They don't know anything other than the bullshit they're told, you know.
Right. Well,
That's what,
I mean,
99% of the Masons are.
we had a pastor, our pastor at a church I go to, he passed away last November. So we had interim pastors coming in, kind of filling in. And one of the guys that filled in, he was a Mason. I was like, what is this? This is sorcery. What is going on?
Not only that, but it's when you start getting into the Scottish Rite, which is where you start to really get into some corrupt stuff. At the level, the 32nd level degree Mason, you no longer swear in on the Bible, you swear in on a Quran. And then from there, you start learning the actual secret doctrine of Masonry, and that the light that they search for actually comes from Lucifer. And Lucifer is the
People really
actual.
just don't understand. They really just think it's like a good guys club. They go bowling or hang out or some crazy nonsense like that. They don't understand the deeper level of it.
Most of it is,
It's
though.
because it's like any other sort of cult. At the bottom, the people know nothing. At the top, the people are the sick.
Then when you tell people about
And
it,
like
they
you were
look at you like
saying,
crazy.
Amanda, about that, you pay this $115 kind of thing. That's the secret. You got to pay for each degree. Each degree that you go up costs more and more money. And then when you get to the top, you get told, hey, we're just collecting money off these people. There is no secret.
It's nothing
secret
but
is
God
It's that
that
kind of thing.
opened my eyes to let me see this before we went through with any nonsense like that. I mean, seriously.
Exactly. I mean, the secret is we serve Lucifer, and we control basically all the political arms of the United States.
Yeah, and they view Lucifer as the prince of the light, like he's the true light. That's what they're saying, but it's all a lie. And the point is that they know it's a lie, but that they're on that side, they're on the dark side, so they're gonna tell whatever they need to tell to people to get them to join.
Exactly.
Once they're on that side, you're not gonna care because you once you give in to that evil, then it just takes over.
Well, that's where the G from Masonry, and I'm sure you've seen the symbol. The G stands for Gnosticism.
Does it?
Yep. Because that's what they are. Their core belief is Gnosticism. And Gnosticism has its roots in Kabbalism, which is why you'll see many Jewish Masons. And that's why they don't discriminate. But here's the discrimination. You have to be a monotheist to be a Mason. You can't be a polytheist to be a Mason. You have to be a monotheist.
And what's that?
And somebody who believes in only one God. So you can't be, there's no Hindu Masons out there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it could be a Jew, a Muslim, a Christian, as long as you're a monotheist, because they don't allow polytheists in Masonry, and they don't allow atheists either.
Really?
Yep. You can't be an atheist, a polytheist, a madman. That's why I didn't qualify. I was too insane.
You guys know, ever watched that dude, Black Child? Have you ever watched his videos?
Not familiar.
A Black Child production or anything like that?
I've seen his videos.
And what do you think? Like shady
I
or
don't know.
good?
A few years ago, like he had some good content, but then I don't know, like his videos kind of started getting out there, and I was like, I don't really know if I trust this guy as much as I used to. Like
Did he
when I
start
first
talking
woke
about
up,
the
he was
flirt?
one of the channels that I seen, but he talks about Masonic, symbols and different things like that, and celebrities, how they sold it out, just good stuff. And some of it's knowledgeable, but I don't know. I'm really on the fence about him.
Mhm. Yeah, he does do some interesting stuff. Like he's one of the guys that points out news. Like he talks a lot about the news casters and how they
A good
use
channel,
subliminal
yeah,
messages and things to put people in
yeah,
trances as the transitions and all that stuff, the rings that spin around to kind of like put people in trances. Like
yeah,
I didn't even
yeah. I've
notice
seen
that
that
stuff until
one,
he started talking about it
and now you
and
see
how
it all the
they
time, right?
yeah, now you see it all the time. And like how it's on if it's a certain story about like a kidnapping, for some reason the anchor that's reporting it is always wearing blue or something like that. Like it's always on those same stories. They're always told to wear a certain color
The
and
way
they
they
will wear
hold
that
their
certain color.
hands, they hold their hands in certain ways and things like that.
What was the name
Yeah.
of that channel again?
Black
The
Child
Black
Productions.
Cloud, yeah. You know who's a good channel?
Oh.
Red Silver J. I like him.
Yeah, I like Red Silver J.
He's cool.
Another
He's
thing
great.
you gotta worry about though is when you start noticing these patterns everywhere. You gotta remember too. Was that planted in your mind on purpose?
Like what do you mean?
How do you know that? It gets to the point where, like with Alex Jones gives you 90% truth, 10% lie.
Yep,
10% lies. That still counts as a lie. But everything you look out for, because he gives you the secrets, he gives you like some things like, oh, that person's doing a Masonic handshake or that person's doing that. And, you're going to start seeing it everywhere you go. But was that planted in your mind for some reason?
Well, when I woke up when they were doing that Jade Helm 15 deal.
Yep.
And so I'm from Texas, so like I was working night shift because I was day shift back then. So there's nothing really to do on night shift. Watch YouTube videos or whatever. And like Jeff, he says it all the time. Like when I first woke up, Alex Jones was the shit coming up all the time. And so I watch his stuff, and after about a month, I'm like, this guy is crazy. Like everything is doom, the end of the world, end of the world, end of the world, and like nothing's happening. Like I can't deal with this. I can't watch this anymore. So I started searching for other channels, and Lisa Haven would come up. Oh God, she really got on my nerves. And she started selling that tea bullshit, and I was like, nah, I can't trust her either. No. But they
You don't
they
like the
put that
fear
in your
porn
recommended.
tea?
Yeah, the fear porn tea, exactly.
But yeah, as I was saying,
luckily I never got into that Lisa girl, but I've heard stuff about her.
you just got to be careful when looking for patterns, because you got to remember there are people out there that will misdirect you. And whereas some of it or even a lot of it is truth, and you'll see the patterns, you know what I mean? But were those patterns planted in your mind?
Well, you have to have discernment. You have to be smart enough to know and figure it out. And that's what's wrong with most of the world, because no one has discernment. They just believe whatever someone tells them. They don't research it on their own.
That is a very, very good point. That's an excellent
I think
point.
everyone's an actor or a plant until I can prove otherwise. You're guilty until I can prove you innocent, because I've been tricked too many times. Like, Uncommon brought up about like different channels. Who do I follow? I got into a lot of different channels, and then you have emotional investments into these people, like Alex Jones, for instance. I listened to Alex Jones for over 10 years. And, 10, 11, 12, 15 years ago, Alex Jones had a totally different show. He talked about Zionism. He told you about the left-right paradigm. Don't fall for it. Now he's fucking endorsing Trump, and
Well, that's
he
when I
had the
learned
whole
who
fake
Bilderberg
Ebola
was.
scare and all
Yeah.
the products he's selling now. He didn't do all
Yeah.
that shit before.
Well,
Yeah.
I didn't even know about Bilderberg until I seen a documentary and it had Alex Jones and how he would stand out there and
Oh,
try
yeah.
to question him and stuff. And like no one does any of that anymore. He definitely doesn't do it. I don't know what the hell he's doing now. It's just ridiculous.
He sent Owen Schroyer to say fucking CNN is ISIS.
Well,
Bitch.
how many people knew about the Bohemian Grove?
Yeah, before Alex went.
Exactly. Not
Yeah.
a damn person. And now they're putting it on fucking House of Cards.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you see that lady get arrested? She's a rebel. She's from the rebel. She's a blonde lady. I forget her name. And she went to a play which was basically,
Oh,
you
I
know,
saw that.
Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. Caesar gets stabbed in the Senate with, you know, like
Caesar looks like
too brute, you know. Yeah, they make him look like Trump, and then she's like, "This is an outrage," blah blah blah. And it just so happens, poser bitch is there
He was
filming
in
the
the
whole
audience.
thing.
Yeah, it sounded like he was saying gerbil,
Yeah,
gerbil.
and then he gets thrown out. And now Rebel has, you know, free this lady. They're trying to raise money for her to get her out of jail. It's like what? Every time they fuck up and get in trouble, they're gonna, you know, beg for shekels like Ezra.
And then the dumb people that follow them are gonna give it like fools, idiots, just stupid.
follow the leader.
And I think they're astroturfing with the amount of subs they have because they only had, when I first started watching The Rebel, it wasn't that bad. And the only reason why I was watching it because it was a Canadian news outlet. I wanted to see, you know, Canadian news. Now all of a sudden they're at like 800,000 subs and they're international now.
Yeah, they came out of nowhere.
I never watched them ever. I never heard about them until, you know, Jeff will talk about them and the people, the frauds that work for them.
Well,
I
they
never
rode the
watched
Trump
anything
wave,
like
that's
before.
for sure. I mean, I knew who
The
Gavin.
whole alt-right rebel fucking, you know, Trump thing.
Yeah, it's all.
Yeah, they're at 800,000 subs now. They have 6,200 videos on their YouTube channel. And they've only been around for a few years. I mean, they have over 6,000 videos. That's crazy.
To be fair, though, I did know who Gavin McInnes was before the Rebel Media. That's because I used to watch the Anthony Cumia show.
And he also created Vice.
Yep.
Gavin?
He was a co-founder of Vice.
Yeah, they sold it for a lot of money. Is the girl's name.
Yep, she was also a co-founder, I believe.
Yeah, what are the odds that Laura Loomer of The Rebel is there? Bitch no longer works for The Rebel. He was their Washington, D.C. correspondent. All of a sudden, he's not working for Rebel anymore. But he's with Rebel, and he's with Laura Loomer at this, you know, Julius Caesar, Donald Trump mock assassination thing.
Yeah, they planned that.
And well, it's just like with Laura Southern, too. You know, she doesn't work for Rebel anymore, but she's still putting out content for Rebel. Rebel is still using her likeness and image in her videos. The blonde bimbo. She's the sex symbol.
Yeah, I can't believe that I took as long as I did to find out that Alex was, you know, he's part of it. Like, because I really did follow the guy for years, and he was, I can honestly say he was like the father of my awakening. Because I saw,
yeah, me too, man.
I saw like what was that? The Obama deception.
Don't feel
the Obama
bad.
deception, and it floored me. It floored me, and then after that, you know, got awoke and I followed the guy for years, and eventually, yeah, it's just recently, it's like
I'm just glad
it became obvious.
I didn't watch it for years.
As I said, don't feel bad. It happened to all of us at one point in time.
Nah, I don't feel bad. I learned from it.
Like a few months before I was like, this guy is over the top.
But yeah, going back to your question about who I watch, you know, one of my favorites is Walter Veith. Watch his stuff on Freemasonry. It's pretty good.
Walter what?
Faith.
Walter Faith?
Yep. Veith, Walter Veith.
Okay, Faith. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
He's an ex-Catholic minister, so it's interesting stuff coming from him.
Interesting. Yeah, I remember like when I was a big fan of Alex Jones, he had a guy on, and I remember when he had him on, he was like, "Hey, you're one of the only guys that the people who work on the show are begging to have on the show. Like everyone's excited that you're on the show." And it was this guy named Jan Irving, and Jan Irving is the host of that Gnostic Media thing that I was telling you guys about. Well, what he was saying on there made a lot of sense. And it's almost like Alex couldn't even really, like Alex felt intimidated by this guy because the dude Jan even like put Alex on the spot. He's like, "Hey, you've been accused of being a fearmonger yourself, you know, like your commercials and you sell this and that." And Alex got all defensive and stuff. Never had him back on the show after that. That was it. I was like, that was the first and last time. But he stuck out of my head to where I was like, whoa, that guy, I got to check out his stuff, you know?
Yeah, Tex Mars, same thing.
I heard of that guy's, yeah. Tex Mars?
Mars talks about Zionism.
Yeah, he sounds familiar.
He does
Hey, have you guys, did any of you guys see that fire in England with the high rise that burned down?
Yeah,
No.
yeah, it was terrible.
Do you see how many people died in that?
How many was it? I didn't find out.
They're reporting about 80, and I watched the video. I mean, it could be fake, but the lady said she lived nearby. She even gave out her Twitter account. What I see, it looks pretty legit. And she said that, you know, between 500 and 600 people lived in that building.
Yep.
About like 80 died. And they were talking about how the government somehow had something to do with that building, and they didn't want to spend the extra money on the fireproofing and stuff like
Or
that.
something. That's what I heard. It wasn't at the code. And they
That's
knew
what
it.
they're going to move everybody into. They're going to move everybody into a high rise like that.
I'm just wondering who,
That's the plan.
of all them people, they won't talk about all the people who died. Like maybe who was there and like what they were involved in, like for instance with like the Titanic and John Jacob Astor dying on the Titanic, who were big opponents of the Federal Reserve System, were coming from England to the United States, and they were about to talk to Congress about getting rid of the Federal Reserve and the Rothschild Zionist banking scheme that was going on in America. To them, the three biggest people against them just happened to be on the Titanic, and it just happened to sink miraculously. I personally don't believe the Titanic hit an iceberg. I think they shot it down with German U-boats or something like that. But I mean,
Probably.
you know, what kind of people lived in that building and what, you know, political.
Hey, but you know what? The building
Or-
still stood, though. You notice that?
Yeah, how come that didn't fall down?
Yeah, interesting.
Well, that's funny because, you know, it only took a plane to knock down the World Trade Center.
Which
Yeah,
was
that
how
was
many
only a
more times bigger than that
110-story building.
building.
Personally seen the World Trade Centers when they were still up.
No, I never have.
I never been out of California, dog.
I've been to New York City a few times, and I was in New York City when they were still standing. These were the biggest things you ever saw in your life. And I mean, the buildings in New York City are big the way it is. And these buildings were
Huge.
as the biggest buildings there. I mean, these things were humongous. You use those as a like if you don't know where you are, you look up in the sky above the skyscrapers to see these two humongous buildings. It's like, okay, there's the trade centers. All right, I know where we are now. No way a plane and jet fuel knock those buildings down. They're the biggest things I ever saw in my life. And I've been all over, you know, the East Coast, and I've been to LA, but I mean, I've been all over almost all the major cities in the United States, and I never saw a building
Yeah.
like that. Even like, you know, like the CN Tower in London was pretty big, even though it ain't a building per se. But I mean, there's just no way.
Well, it
My
wouldn't
friend was
surprise.
a.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say my friend was a photographer, and he took pictures of like rigs and shit, like semi trucks, and he put them in a magazine in New Jersey. So he had like, you know, a camera and shit like that on hand, and he was driving down Interstate 95. Forget which direction he was going. That ain't important. But you can see in New Jersey on Interstate 95, which is one of the major interstates in the United States, going north and south. But trade centers as they were being attacked, and he started, you know, and then he was driving closer to New York as it was happening, and I have actual pictures of the trade centers as they were being attacked from a photographer I personally know. So I mean, they weren't
Hmm.
doctored or anything like that.
Yeah.
And in these pictures, you can actually see the explosions. You know, it's a 110-story building. The plane hit around the 80th story, but in the 20s, 30s, 40s, on those floors, you could see explosions blowing out the sides of the building.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
mean, those buildings were pulverized into dust like
Mhm,
instantly,
exactly.
hmm
Those
just
buildings were
fall
rigged.
down.
Those buildings were rigged to blow. How else do you explain Tower 7 going down?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that happened at like 4 o'clock, and the World Trade Center 1 and 2 got attacked at like 9 o'clock in the morning. Number 7 fell down at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening.
Exactly. Had
And
nothing
then
to
they
do with
told the
the other
people
two
to
towers.
stay. They told the people to stay in there. They killed all those people.
Do you remember the first day it happened? And as it was happening, the news reporters were
Oh, I saw
reporting
it on the news.
explosions
Yeah.
in the basements, and those
Hmm.
firefighters, you know, they're covered in dust and blood, and they're like, yeah, I ran in the building, I went upstairs, a bunch of explosions above my head. I ran downstairs, there's explosions below me. The wall blew up, half the guy's fucking face is covered in blood, you know, there's blood coming out his nose. He's like, there was explosions above me and below me, and you know, they told us get out of there, that the buildings were coming down. The firefighters and the what would you call them, the first responder
Yeah.
type
Mhm.
units like EMS, firefighters, cops, stuff like that.
Right.
They got the word to get out of the building, that the building was coming down, and
Yep.
then the building fell down. So I mean, this was on the news the morning it happened. I was watching it. I was watching the news from like 8:30 in the morning
I
before it
got off of
happened, and
work and it was
I
on
was
the
watching the
news.
news then for the next 2 days.
Hmm.
They knew those buildings were going to come down before they even built those fucking buildings.
Yeah,
That's
they
See
what
they
I
had
that
a
believe.
plan. They
Freemason
had a
picture
plan
I
for
was
it.
showing before?
So you think they planned it that far in advance, huh?
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, because they've been trying to plan this new world order for a long time, and they knew they were going to need an event, so they knew it needed to be bombastic, like a
And they
huge
built the one
event.
tall building
I'm
to
on
replace it.
you are uncommon. I think they planned it just by the years that, you know, that it opened. You got to get into the Hebrew calendar as well. They don't use the same calendar as we do. In the Hebrew calendar, it's the year 5777.
They also
Their
used the lunar
history
calendar.
goes back a bit further. What was that?
So they also use the lunar calendar.
Yeah, see, you know, before they changed time, as weird as that sounds, time used to run on a 13-month, 30 days a month. No, I'm sorry, 28 days in a month. So each month had 4 weeks, and there were 13 months, and there was actually a 13th zodiac. Changed it to 12, and they moved it to the sun worship instead of the lunar feminine cult worship.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that they changed time because, according to the Bible, the Antichrist will actually have the power to change times.
Oh, they have. I mean, they don't go by the same. And there's also, don't forget, there's the Gregorian calendar in Rome, and there's also the Julian calendar. I believe we go by the Julian calendar.
I think we go by
We You're wrong.
I go by the Gregorian.
Definitely one of them.
But yeah, as I said, it's funny you mentioned that they changed times because according to the Bible, the Antichrist has the power to change times. And anytime we talk about a beast biblically, it's actually a system, not a person.
Pitcher. I see TREYSON in the comments too. I want him to look at this and maybe
If anything, our resident,
fill us in on it.
I was about to say, if anything, our resident Mason expert should know.
I had up earlier. Change my but I forget what these things are called. I'm sure he would know what they're called. They have a special name. They're these I call them Freemason pictures. They show the two pillars, Boaz, and I forget the other one. Maybe if I click on this one, it'll. But okay, my whole point is there was two, and the whole thing with Freemasonry is there's two pillars, and you want to get to the one. See the picture, it'll make more sense. What they did was that they had two trade centers, correct? Two pillars. Two pillars down into one pillar. Now there's they built the new World Trade Center building. There's a new building there. It's huge. It's 1,776 feet tall. It's the biggest building in the world. And when the trade centers fell down, I was on, like, that happened September 11th. I was in New York City on September 13th. I drove there to see what was going on. 2 hours from where I live. And they had these like beams of lights like taking place of the buildings. Lights up for 33 days.
That's not a Masonic number or anything.
No, it has nothing to do with that. But I mean,
and yeah, by the way, the pillars are called Boaz and Jachin. And in Masonry, it's actually three pillars because the two pillars become one, and the one is the third pillar.
If you can see, east is at the top instead of north being on top. The Freemasons say we've traveled to the east, sort of thing. And one pillar is male, the left one is masculine, the sun. The right one is feminine, the moon. And the middle pillar is the perfection of both. I believe, I may be wrong, TREYSON could tell me otherwise, that is the dog star, Sirius. And you could see on the bottom they have the checkerboard flooring, which, you know, ain't just for aesthetics.
Nope, that's interdimensional.
Someone who knows more about Freemasonry, the steps going up, would know more. Like, these things ain't just a picture. Everything in this picture is there on purpose. You could see, you know, the left at the bottom there is for making circles, a compass. Or
it's a ladder.
No, down next to the S.
Oh, sorry.
The left pillar on the bottom there. Kind of like shaped like a bell kind of thing.
I see what you're talking about, yeah.
But you can see below the ladder, you can see the compass there next to the square. See the W pillar? The square is leaning up against it. It's a golden V-looking thing. Below that, you can see the compass laying on the floor next to it. The thing next to the S, I believe that's shaped like a bell. I believe that's for checking if a stone is flat or not. They use that to make sure
Masonic
stones are flat.
Wait, what are you looking
Let
at?
me hop into
see
the.
You're talking about the square.
It's supposed to be on the screen because I can't.
Well, I just took it off. I wanted to see the chat. No, Treyson, we were just talking about Freemasonry, and we wanted to see what you had to, what you could throw into the conversation. Now, could you see it?
Yeah, I do. I see it.
Well, folks, it's past my
And like, oh shit, it's 1 o'clock already. We had a late one tonight.
Yes, we did. It's always a good one, though.
Yeah, I got work tomorrow. I don't mind staying up for the show though, because for so long, I'm just happy to have it going.
Yeah, it was fun. So next time you're gonna have the show again is gonna be Wednesday
Wednesday, yep, on Black Cubes
on Black Cube's channel.
You want to give us
Cool.
your closing thoughts, arguments, concerns, questions? Uncommon.
Sure. Just thanks for letting me come on, guys, and talk to you guys. It is comforting to talk to other people who are aware, and you guys seem like you know a lot more stuff than I do when it comes to certain subjects, and that's cool. Like I like listening to you guys talk. And yeah, no, I'm just happy to be here.
Glad to have you, man. I was checking out the videos on your channel. Is that you personally doing that shit? Like, were you walking up to them girls and asking them out and shit?
Yeah, that's me.
Yo, dude, I saw you somewhere before. You were on, I don't know if you're being interviewed on someone else's channel or they were just showing your video. But I saw that somewhere else before on my YouTube journeys.
Really? That's weird.
It was pretty funny. Do you want to give out your YouTube channel or your Twitter where you could be reached, where your content could be reached?
Yeah, no, on my YouTube channel right now I'm posting on that Uncommon Conspiracies. That's my YouTube channel, and then yeah, I have a Twitter too. That's I'm under Ed Ganches on that one. EDGANCHEZ. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, folks, you could check out his videos. He does, I'd say you do like a comedy take on things.
I try.
I had a good laugh. I'll say that though.
Did you
I guess
get
Amanda's
Yeah, I'm here. I just had it on mute.
You want to give us your closing statements? If you have any social media you're on, you want to get out to people?
Twitter that I just made maybe a month or so ago. It's Amanda RD 1980. That's my Twitter. But this was a good show. I had a good conversation with you guys. It's always cool to learn new things and talk with like-minded people. I enjoy that.
Yeah, we always post a link. It's an open panel discussion.
I think, let's see, what's today, Monday? I'm off Tuesday or Wednesday night, so maybe I can jump in Wednesday. I won't have to be at work.
Yeah, don't forget that'll be on Black Cube's channel on Wednesdays.
Yeah, all right, cool. But yeah, I enjoyed it. And I guess I'll see y'all on Wednesday.
Definitely.
No problem.
Mr. Black Cube.
That would be me.
That's you.
As always, my friend. It's always a good talking. As far as closing statements go, I just want to expound upon what Uncommon said. It's always good to talk to other people that have similar interests and similar ideals, and we're not going to agree on everything. And that's all right, you know, because the main thing is we agree that there is something wrong with the world, and we know who's behind it. And whether or not we agree on everything's not important, as long as we're trying to steer each other in the right direction.
Yep.
That's the most important
I think the
thing.
things that we disagree on are just, you know, minor petty details of things, you know, and you're never going to find a group of people that everything 100%, but the things we do agree on are, you know, the main ideas, the main topics. Again, you know, how many of us have been 100% right about everything ever on this whole like truth movement
Right.
thing? We talked earlier before about, you know, Alex Jones, and have said something negative about him, I would have defended him and said, you know, like, hey, fuck you, Alex Jones is awesome, man. Like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, look, he's selling bone broth. And I mean, bone broth is a real thing. It's like a nutritious supplement kind of thing, but he's still selling caveman bone broth, you know? So it's like, oh, man. You
One
know,
thing I
Info Wars and tell everyone go to Info Wars, go to Info Wars. And now it's like, son of a bitch.
one thing I'd like
That's the kind of thing that they put these people out there, you know, they put out the 90% truth, they get us with the 10% lies, and then when we invest ourselves emotionally to them, and then they put out some garbage, then people could say, see these Alex Jones people, they're crazy, they're selling fucking bone broth.
Yep. One thing I'd like to add too is we all have something to offer. You know, there are some things that some of you are experts in. There are some things that others of us know. And the good news is we contribute what we can. And when you contribute what you can, you start to bring, basically, you're taking the whole picture and putting it together. Because right now, what we're doing is each one of us is offering a jigsaw piece. And it's up to
Yeah, I love
us.
that, because even
And it's up to
you may
us.
think you know what you know ain't important, or you might think, you know, hey, I really don't know a lot about this, but everybody has a brain. Everyone could think. Everybody knows something about something, and it could be, you know, to you it may not be anything big because you already know it. But you know, you hop on the show and you start talking about something as simple as, you know, first girl to come on, just motherhood. I couldn't tell you about motherhood. I'm not a mother. I'm not a
Right.
woman. So
Right.
we get that kind of aspect, you know. For me, like Black Cube, if I have a question about scripture or the Bible or something, or a story or something that has to do with, I'll always go to him because he knows more about that stuff. You know, like we're talking about the Freemasonic stuff. You know, we our in-house Freemason, as we call him, Freemasonry, and you know, he hops in with that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
everybody definitely has something to offer, and that's why I like the open panel discussion. To bring a topic up, or if you can tell by the way we do the show, we hop around from topic to topic. We go down rabbit holes. We get out way in left field, and then kind of bring it back. So it's discussion, talk about whatever. I
Well,
personally don't care, and you
even
never know what kind of information you'll share and what we'll go over. You know.
well, we all have different life experiences, so we all have something to bring to the table. So you're right.
Very much so. All of you have different, you know, all of you have different eyes, you know, and we can all see different things, and everybody, according to scripture, has their gift. So where you might see something some way, another person might see something another way, and each one of us is just bringing another piece of the jigsaw to complete the puzzle. And
Amen.
you know, you'll bring up things that I don't know about. I might bring up things that you don't know about. And that's the beauty of it. Together, if we work together, we can actually unveil the entire picture.
I like too how if you watch like the news and shit like that, it shows all these different groups, and all they do is argue and fight with each other, and it makes you for me anyways, it made me think, man, we're never going to be able to come together or even just to have a discussion. And I mean, we're all different ages, there's men and women, there's different races, blah, blah, blah. Had one argument on this show yet, everyone is respectful when someone else talks, go out and tell the other person to go, kind of issues at all whatsoever. And it just shows you that the majority of people, when they come together, regardless of their differences, just don't pop up. That shit doesn't matter. No one cares about that stuff.
Unless you bring up flirt.
Knows, they exploit the differences and try to make it seem like that's what it's all about, I love that we can have an open panel discussion. Everyone's respectful, I think it's just, I've been trying to do this for some time. I know I talked to Black Cube about it, but of open panel discussion show going, and it's kind of funny how it started because Black Cube was in Jeff's channel. I believe you were spamming for an after show, and I've done this before on a different show with a different group of people, but I just happened, and this was just a coincidence, I typed in the same shit he was typing in, like After Hours was the name of the show. After Hours, 9:30, if anyone wants to get an after show chat going. And he's like, dude, are you fucking with me? And then I looked at what he was saying. He said the same thing. I'm like, no, man, I'm not. This is I'm being dead serious. And then that's how me and him got together. So it's kind of a funny story how the whole thing started.
Yeah, y'all have had good shows. I've seen y'all since y'all first started, and I enjoy, and I learn something new every time. So it's pretty good. I like it.
We appreciate it, but we appreciate it more when you put in the input, man. Let me tell you, you've showed us a couple of things that we might have not known.
I'm still learning. I'm new to this. I'm only about 2 years being woke, so I'm still learning a lot. But I try to absorb everything possible. And
as
I think you're our first fan, Amanda. You've been here since day one.
We appreciate
it. Anytime.
And as Lloyd was saying too, we'll take any subject, any view that you guys have, as long as it's not the flirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we should do a flat Earth episode, or not even a whole episode. That's too much time to.
Oh God.
I'm not talking about the flirt. We don't talk about the flirt, just like we don't talk about the Mandingo effect.
Oh, ridiculous. Like the vanishing point thing. The sun doesn't point. That's fucking crazy.
TREYSON just wrote.
Or those people don't know what a vanishing point is.
Did you see TREYSON's comment? The flat Nibiru effect?
No.
That's another bucket of fuckery. The Nibiru. Planet X.
I don't even know what that. Oh, that Planet X thing. I don't even know what that is.
My thing is, what does it even fucking matter? That's not saving anyone's soul. Holy crap, we have so many more issues, and people get stuck on this stupidity. And I'm like, I lose brain cells when I even join a conversation with someone so dumb.
Unless it hits the earth tomorrow, I'm not worried about it.
Well, the whole thing is, if you're talking about that shit, you're talking about that. You're not talking about anything else. You're stuck on flat Earth, and those people, they have a 24/7.
It's unbelievable.
Stream like this, running flat Earth stream, and they have hundreds of people, if not thousands, when more people are online. How Jeff made that video where they go crashing people's shows. I mean, so fucking mad if 100 flat earthers hopped on our show and just flooded the fucking channel with bullshit.
Yeah,
it'd be kind of entertaining too at the same time, though.
Unbelievable. And there's no talking to them. They're so dumb. They won't listen to anything you say.
Of course not, because you're working for NASA.
Yeah, but either they're dumb or they're doing it on purpose. And I think they're doing it on purpose.
It's a little bit.
Well, the people leading it, yeah, they doing it. Their followers are fucking idiots. I'm sorry, but they are.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's just to fuck over your channel and to fuck over the topic. It ruins your chat. It ruins your show for that evening. It ruins the
It takes
topic.
away from
You
the
know,
important topics. It takes away from the stuff that's legit.
if you got a special guest, you know, or you're collaborating with another channel and it's a once in a lifetime sort of thing, and these idiots show up and flat earth you to death, and you know, off, especially if it was like a special guest sort of thing. If we were just here fucking around and they were being idiots, yeah, we could just laugh at them. But I mean, I just thought it was fucked up to jump on someone's channel that has nothing to do with NASA, the flat earth, truther channels. I mean, they're just hitting anybody and taking over their show.
Yeah, because they hit Titus. I saw that. Like, he's legit trying to do something important with Bilderberg, and then you're just going to come in the chat and do that ridiculous nonsense. But the best thing to do is don't pay him attention, because when the people didn't pay him attention, they left.
Pay him no mind.
Yeah, the worst thing to do is fight with them. And
Yeah, it's similar to talking to brainwashed Catholic people about their religion being.
God, it is. Yep, you're
It's
so
so
right.
similar. Like, they don't care. They actually they're
Oh yeah.
are you still on?
Yes, I am.
Oh, them two just dropped right out of there.
Weird. I guess we should close up. Huh. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, guys, I didn't kick you out. I didn't end the stream or nothing yet.
By the way, I got kicked out of. Remember the last show, right? That we did.
Yeah, I thought you ended it.
No,
because that new person came on.
Yeah, I got kicked out of my.
And we were talking.
I got kicked out of my own fucking stream, man. I don't know what the hell happened.
Yeah, I thought because you were the one that started it, I thought that you just disconnected the call because I got kicked out. Just ended it, but like we were all in the middle of talking, sort of thing. So I thought, man, that was kind of weird that he just.
No, I got kicked out. That's why I was trying to get back in, but every time I try to get back in, it says I wasn't allowed back in. I'm like, the fuck?
Get back in either.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck do you mean I'm not allowed back in? I'm the one who started the fucking stream.
Nixon says he got booted last time.
Okay, so it must have just been like because we hung up, you know, and well, we stopped. I guess that maybe it was just a timeout after broadcasting.
For me to kick you out, click on your. No, I can't right click you. The arrow pops up. Hide, present, profile. Like a right click. I know, like you used to have to do the pop up. I couldn't make the control room. Okay, you have to be running the stream to make the control room pop up.
Yep.
Come out from there, like your camera on, if you have one. I can control your and your sound.
And we're not gonna kick you out unless you're being a complete dick.
Yeah, I mean, I would never kick. I wouldn't ban people from the chat unless they're, you know, unless they're something crazy.
Or if they're just going.
Hangouts are fucky, dude. Hangouts suck. I used to do on Hangouts because I would just ramble on for like 3 hours. And then I made two, like I made a video about Israel. I talked about the history of Islam and the Ottoman Empire and how Jesuits made Islam, the Zionists, whatever you want to call them, made a new branch of Islam because up until this point with the Ottoman Turks, they were Muslims and could never go to war against another Muslim nation. That was against God. Muslims would never fight each other. Now all of a sudden, I mean, you see Muslim countries attacking each other all the time. But I mean, I was talking for like 2.5 hours and I was showing videos and pictures and like I was on fire that night. So I posted the video And all these people are like, dude, the sound cuts out. So I'm like, what the fuck? So I went back because I didn't watch a whole 3-hour show to make sure the whole thing sounded good. The first half hour was good. So I'm watching. Out of 3.5 hours, there was like 45 minutes of audio. I don't know what happened. I was like, you son of a bitch. And then it happened again. And then I was pissed. I stopped making videos for like almost a month. It had me that mad. Kicked out of the hangout or whatever. Kicked out by me, you're definitely gonna know on the way out. If you pissed me off or something. But I mean, don't get like, hey, Matt, okay, these assholes kicked me out of the show and was in the middle of talking. But I don't think Black Cube would either, just so you know, for future reference. And if you do get kicked out, just come back. You could just join back in.
Unless I ban your ass. But that's more than likely not going to happen. As I said, you'd have to be a complete dick.
Or you're a tranny that's acting like a woman and you actually have a dick.
Or you're trying to give me the dick.
You're
But
sending me dick pics on Twitter.
it looks like Amanda D is telling us to go to bed, so I think she's right.
Tomorrow, and it's already 1:30. But did you give your last rights there?
Oh, yeah, I'm
Black?
good for the grade. But, yeah, we'll
All
be
right,
doing
I
this.
just want to thank every. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, we're going to be doing this Wednesday. And just in case the Jeff C. show doesn't happen, we're going to be doing it at 9:30 sharp.
Yeah, just to address that really quick because it happened today. If he ever doesn't have a show, I'll still be doing on Monday because we really couldn't link up and talk in his chat. But I mean, I would have assumed that no one would have came today otherwise, without his show being on there. But if he doesn't have a show on a certain day, if it's a Monday, or like Black Cube just said, it's a Wednesday, we'll definitely still have our show regardless of.
Always be here. Until the massage shuts us down, we're good to go.
If you want to look for me, of course, I have my on YouTube page. I'm at Lloyd White 462 on Twitter. The name of my channel on Twitter is also Burning Down Babylon. I'm on Google Plus, and I go on minds.com, MINDS, like your mind, thinking minds, minds.com, which is another of platform. But as far as I've seen, there's zero censoring, like full frontal nudity on there. So I mean, kind of cool to check out. Mondays 9:30 midnight hours on my channel. Wednesdays 9:30 we're on Black Cube's channel. Let me just pop into the chat quick just to say, give everybody a shout out.
Yeah,
Good to have you again, buddy.
Looked like we missed.
Pop on next time if you get the chance. Go ahead, Black Cube.
I was just saying, looks like Dr. Z didn't make it today.
Yeah, maybe he's busy, shit happens. Amanda, thanks for joining the show. It was good to have you on.
Yeah, you were awesome, by the way.
I've been hanging on our show since the first one, actually.
And
who else did we have on here? Uncommon Conspiracies, thanks for joining the show. And you guys are welcome to come on anytime you want, man.
anytime after 9:30.
There was someone else. Person that was on last.
There was somebody named Kevin, and I'm sorry we didn't get to speak with you longer. He brought up a good point, and then all of a sudden he was gone.
Kevin, if you happen to be listening, you want to come back on, hit us up in the comment section or whatever, or just pop back in next time. I don't know.
Yeah,
Did I
exactly.
put the link in the description? I think I did. Link out to you in the YouTube chat, but and
I
Liam,
think that
thanks
might
for
be
coming
better.
back, man. I saw you out there as well. But then check us out. This is the midnight hour.
Peace out.
Peace. Some shekels too, if you get the chance.
Return.